Let's just start the show. Here's John and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of John and Jim as we react to a Padres Game 1 win in Philadelphia and get you ready for Game 2 coming up in about 90 minutes or so. So John and Jim with you. Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, will join us in 30 minutes at 2:30. Plus, we're going to hear from Mike Schild coming up in the next 10 or 15 minutes. You tweeted it perfectly, Jim. Basically along the lines of this. Nothing is easy. I mean, absolutely nothing. Even when you score 5 runs in an inning, race out to a 6-0 lead, have Nick Pivetta throw the way he threw. Yet there we are in the 9th inning, and the tying runs at second base after defensive indifference with 2 outs. And Kyle Schwarber's at the plate, where if he homers, which he had done earlier in the game, the Phillies steal the game. Now, to Robert Suarez's credit, we'll get into this. He has really struggled here recently. He allows another run. He gets out of the spot. He strikes out Schwarber on a 101-mile-per-hour fastball up. Padres survive. It was not the walk in the park. They had to use their closer. They used some of their 8-team relievers, but they win the game, and we'll see if they can win this doubleheader by winning later on this afternoon.
What are you talking about? I said it was an easy game.
Yeah, but I know what you meant.
It was not stressful at all. Easy win. Padres jumped out to a 5-0 lead, and they just hit cruise control for the rest of the game, and it was just not very eventful after they scored those 5 runs there in the second inning.
And then it was 6-0.
Then it was 6-0.
And it was still 6-0 as late as what? The 6th inning.
Yeah.
6-0 in the 6th inning.
And Nick Pivetta got taken out after 90 pitches?
After 6 innings, after allowing the solo home run.
Mm-hmm. And then Brian Hoeing came in and
didn't pitch well.
No. Adrian Morejon, he's
terrific.
Awesome, as usual. And then Robert Suarez, the roller coaster that is, comes in the 9th inning. And if it wasn't for a fantastic defensive play by Jackson Merrill, this thing could have been really bad. Now, he did strike out Schwarber to end the game, but still, runners at first and third with 1 out. Kyle Schwarber at the plate. Bryce Harper coming up, I think, behind him. Yeah, that's scary.
It was a scary situation. Obviously, the way that whole thing, I don't know, just the way it all played out in the 9th inning. We're all thinking the same thing. We're all thinking the exact same thing. The Phillies are either going to tie the game up or they're going to win it. I mean, when Suarez unravels, he really unravels. That's what actually impressed me by him getting out of that spot in the 9th inning. We won't see him in Game 2. I thought there was a scenario, Jim, where they don't have to use Adrian Morejon. They don't have to use Jason Adam. They didn't. They don't have to use Robert Suarez. And then in Game 2, you really have the advantage because you win a game 6-0 or something like that. You still have your 8-team relievers. They have some of them. And you can think about winning this doubleheader and winning the series. They still may. They have Dylan Cease. They're facing a very good pitcher in Game 2. They faced a rookie here today from the Phillies in Game 1. I feel like it's a pivotal game. You get it. It's a 3-3 trip, and you'd feel amazing about it because you sweep a doubleheader in Philadelphia. You don't get it. It's kind of back to square one where you were a moment ago, a 2-4 trip and a losing series against the Phillies.
A 3-3 trip with everything that's happened on this road trip would be just such a massive win.
Huge.
Just a massive, massive win because you almost get no hit. You probably should have gotten no hit on the first game of the series. You blow a game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. You get shut out and look feeble on Monday night. And then today
could have been worse than the end result.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you walk out of here with a 3-3 road trip, man. You're feeling good about yourselves if you're the San Diego Padres. Now, the Robert Suarez discussion, I feel like it's time to have it. And that conversation is kind of like, what do you do with him? Do you keep him in this spot? Do you take him out of the closer position for the time being? He's a player that's a definite trade candidate. What do you do with Robert Suarez? And here's some numbers that are not good for Robert Suarez. Thanks to Nick Lee on social media for putting these numbers out, making our jobs much easier. Robert Suarez in June had a 7.84 ERA. His last 15 appearances, he has a 6.59 ERA with a 1.61 WHIP. That's not good. That's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think after the last blown save, remember the story was, well, their offense isn't good. This isn't about Robert Suarez, but it is because it's just continued and he hasn't been good. I would not trade him. I think the depth in your bullpen is going to be critically important. We've seen him have dips before. I'm not saying he has to be the full-time primary closer. I think he could be moved out of that role. I would potentially move him or consider moving him to pitching 8th innings until he gets back right. You have options. You have Jason Adam. who's closed in the major leagues. You have as good of a reliever as there is in baseball right now in Adrian Morejon that is not closing. You still have Jeremiah Estrada. So you have options. I'm not opposed to moving him to a different role until he quote unquote figures it out. I would be opposed to moving him because we've seen the upside of him. He still leads the National League in saves with 24. Yes, it's been a down month. Hit a down month last year, I think in September, late August into September, pitched well in the postseason. So that's my 2 cents on it. He doesn't have to be your full-time primary closer while he struggles. I just don't know what you get for him if you're selling low. He's got a high salary. He's 34 years of age. I'd hold on to him for the upside for the next couple of months and hope that he recaptures the form that we've seen at times over his last 2 or 3 seasons.
It's never reassuring to have your closer have an ERA over 4.
No. What is it right now?
4.04.
Yeah, and it's just going up.
Yeah, even though he has 24 saves on the season, a closer with an ERA over 4 is like, I don't know about that one.
I mean, an ERA, like put it this way, an ERA of 4.5 means you allow a run 1 out of every 2 innings. You don't want to be saying that about a closer, especially for the Padres, who never seemingly have 3-run leads. They always have like 2 or 1-run leads.
Now they had a 3-run lead going into the 9th inning today.
And they needed it. And they absolutely needed it.
And then the other story of today's game, you could say the offense. To me, it was their plate discipline today. Now, there were some very easy takes. These were not close pitches. They drew, how many walks did they draw today? 9 walks today. That's a season high for this team. Previous season high was 8.
Mm-hmm.
So a season high in walks, 9. They only put up 5 hits, John.
Well, I was going to say, like, they really didn't do anything on offense other than show you the discipline that might be necessary to improve their offense moving forward.
Manny Machado with the biggest hit of the night.
Without the hit, they lose. I mean, without Manny Machado's bases clearing 2-out double in the 2nd inning, they likely lose this game. I mean, that was their lone big hit of the day, right? Everything else was done via the free pass that walked in runs. But Manny Machado had that big hit today. But 5 hits, I'm not going to complain about it because of the 9 walks. I mean, that's 14 base runners right there. But again, to celebrate the offense because they had 5 hits, we're going to need to see more, is my point.
I agree with that because you look up and down this lineup today. Tatis, he had a hit.
Yep.
He had that RBI walk there. Jackson Merrill, he had to hit 3 walks today. That's a good day for Jackson Merrill.
Absolutely.
And Machado, biggest hit, bases loaded, 3 runs score there. Sheets, Arise, they both went 0 for. Offensively, scoring 6 runs, you're like, good, that's good. You look at the numbers, and it was all basically because of all the walks. I mean, if they didn't draw 9 walks today, they don't win this game. And that's a good thing. You know, you score runs however you can, especially with how this team has been struggling. You're not going to be, beggars can't be choosers, right? You score 6 runs, you take it, regardless of even if you had 2 hits in the day. 6 runs is 6 runs, and this team has not been able to score 6 runs consistently of late and turn those things into wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when a team is scuffling, though. I feel like this happens a lot. You win a game and you start talking about the negatives. And once again, like a scuffling team lets a team back in a game. Like if they won this game 6-0, we'd be saying nothing but positive. Say, go win this doubleheader. Nice performance. What a job by Pavetta in the bullpen.
There's still positives today,
there
for
are
sure.
positives, but it's like the first things we're saying are, do they need to change the closer? That was the first thing we said. Do they need to change the closer? And is the offense really, is this the result of a good offense or was this the result of wild pitching? I mean, their starting pitcher, the rookie, allowed what? How many walks in an inning and 2/3?
I think 5 walks.
Right. So, I mean, they took advantage of a pitcher that has, barely appeared in the major leagues, had decent numbers coming in, but issued 5 walks in less than 2 innings. We'll see if they can do it in game 2. I'm with you. There are positives here today. But again, I feel like if this team was humming along, they would have found a way to win this game without the tying run and scoring position where you're just holding on for dear life there in the 9th inning and praying Kyle Schwarber doesn't make you pay. And thankfully, that's where Suarez gets credit. He threw 101. He blew Schwarber away. It could have been way worse. What would we be saying if that's a 3-run home run to walk off for the Phillies? Or what would we be saying if he tied that game up with a single up the middle? And we're not saying it because they won the game.
Yeah. You win the game. It masks and it covers some problems that you're still dealing with. And that's kind of where this team is at right now. Just any way you possibly can get it done, get it done. It doesn't have to look pretty. Doesn't have to be the most, appeasing type of game. It just go out, win the game. Doesn't matter how you do it. Pick up the W because they aren't playing good baseball. they're up and down. They're not consistent. And so picking up wins while they continue to figure things out is the base case scenario. Like you win tonight's game or this afternoon's game 2, like you said, go 3-3 on the road trip. It wasn't a pretty road trip if they go 3-3, or even if take away the wins and losses. Just if you just watch the games, it's not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if it's a 3-3 road trip, man, you take that in a second with a 10-game homestand coming up before the All-Star break.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have an opportunity to really, put yourself in good position at the All-Star break this year if you have a good homestand. I said this. You go 3-3 on the road trip, you go 6-4 at home. Not a lot it's not like a huge ask. And guess what? You're 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break.
And
everybody would take that, right?
Yeah. And by the way, the St. Louis Cardinals have lost 3 straight. The San Francisco Giants have been awful. They've lost 4 straight. The Cincinnati Reds, since you were there, have lost 2 straight. If the season ended, it doesn't.
The Mets have been awful.
The Padres are in playoff positioning. So we look at this in the vacuum of the Padres and say, man, they're just 5-5 in their last 10 or whatever they're doing. Well, guess what? Teams like San Francisco are 3-7. Teams like St. Louis have lost 4 straight. You're not trying to be the top team in the National League today. That would be nice. At some point, you're not trying to catch the Dodgers today. You're trying to put yourself in playoff positioning or better positioning. And they're fully capable of doing that, win or lose, by the way, in game 2. They're fully capable of doing that with the 10-game homestand coming up.
Yeah, and even if they do lose game 2 here, a 2-4 road trip, it's not the end of the world. Nope. It sucks. You would love to be better, but the real test coming up is how do you do on this 10-game homestand? Are you going to take advantage of the 10 games? Are you going to go 6-4 or better? I think 6-4, that's kind of like where I'm looking at the minimum here.
I agree with
6-4 homestand, it's not a lot to ask. All right. It's not a lot to ask. If you go 6-4, even if you lose today's second game of the doubleheader, then you're 9 games above 500 heading into the All-Star break. Much better position than they were last year heading into the All-Star break, where they lost 6 of 7, where they were only 1 game above 500, where there were still a lot of questions about this team. Like, hey, are they going to be sellers to the deadline and whatnot? And we harped on this yesterday. While the team has been playing just blah baseball, and they've been under 500 for the last damn near 70 games, they're still in a way better position than they were last year. And it's up to them to go out and take it. It's up to them to take advantage of this 10-game homestand, because if they don't, then the pressure's right back on them to essentially do exactly what they did last year coming out of the break, which was the 8-2 road trip and a 10-game homestand or 10-game road trip. And then that kind of propelled them in the second half. And I don't know how easy that would be if they don't take advantage of this homestand here coming up before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'd much prefer them to continue to play well above 500 than press their luck and try to do what they did last year, because I don't see that happening again in 2025. All right, we'll hear from Mike Schild on the other side. Kevin Acee will join us from Philly coming up at 2:30. We're reacting to a Game 1 win. We're getting you ready for Game 2, where Dylan Cease will be on the mound in about an hour or so in Philadelphia. Stay with us, John and Jim. San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, tonight at 6, right here on San Diego Sports 760, we've got SDFC Midweek Live. That's coming up tonight at 6 p.m. The latest on the first place club here in the Western Conference for your home of SDFC right here on San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Acee is going to join us in 10 minutes. He started the post-game press conference with Mike Schild asking about the Padres offense.
What did you make of the at-bats today, Mike?
I made a lot of them. You know, that's the we do that, this team's going to be virtually unstoppable. It really is. We were very stingy. Weren't going to give in anything that wasn't on the plate. And, you know, gosh, amazing job. And then we get on the plate, you know, you talk about slug, you're going to get more slug when you're on the plate more consistently. And just really, really good at-bats. Top of the lineup, set the tone. They were fantastic. You know, Toddy Jackson's at-bats were tremendous. Going the other way, taking his walks, working his walks. You know, Manny with a big swing to clear them. That was obviously great. And I thought Bogey's at-bats were good as well. So, you know, we're stingy like that. You know, again, there's no absolutes in this game. But if you do that with the talent we have in the zone, then we're going to continue to be a very dangerous team.
Obviously, that is far easier said than done, but they have done that before, and I think it's probably been a focus here to get back to that. Like, what did you see today or leading into today that kind of led to them having those?
That's great. We've done it. I mean, just, you know, they need, I mean, listen, man, the game could be challenging when guys are painting on both sides of the plate and, you know, they're a little bit off of it. You know, guys can have a tendency to expand. But like I said, you know, we got to back to being stubborn today.
What do you think of Nick?
Oh, he's fantastic. You know, outside of Schwarber, you know, he made him pay, but I thought Nick was great. You know, he made big pitches, controlled counts, breaking ball was really good, fastball was where he wanted it. I like the fact he was able to, you know, own the inner half, you know, in and off. I thought that was really, really good. Guys played some defense behind him. Sheets made a nice little play. Manny was double play ball, another nice play by Manny. You know, so I thought he was fantastic. Get through it, you know, that lineup through 6.
When he controls those counts, he like really controls them. He's done it the last couple starts. What is it about him that he just kind of?
Yeah, the mat's there. I mean, the mat's there, but definitely the mat's there for Nick. You know, control the counts, just a matter of getting on, boom, 0-1, winning the 1-1, which he's really doing a nice job of. And then he's got really good stuff. You know, fastball had some really good life today. Secondary pitches are good. He's, like I said, both sides of the plate, elevating the ball when he needed to. I thought he was tremendous with him and Diaz.
Obviously, we're only kind of halfway through the season, but for him to have had the season and given you guys what he's given you thus far, like what do you just kind of make of, in general, how important he's been to this group?
He's been huge. I mean, you know, listen, I give a lot of credit to, you know, all the starters. You know, we've had some, you know, we've been hit a little bit there. And, you know, we've had some guys really step up, and Nick's been the guy that stepped up, and we needed it. You know, a veteran guy that's come in that, you know, has some real time in this league, that has a pedigree, been on some good teams, and he's fit right in. He's taken the challenge to, and we don't want to heap anything more on than needs to, but he's taken the rightful challenge to be an anchor for our starting pitching. And as we all know, that starting pitching anchor spots are huge.
What did you see on the play? And it looked like Manny may have tagged him at first, and then.
Yeah, I don't know. I can always be careful with some of the replay stuff. Those guys do a good job. They look at it. I think, you know, they have more angles than I do, and you know, unemotional eyeballs on it in New York. You know, I looked at it, and you know, outside of one angle that was still iffy for me, it was kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure we're going to be able to overturn that, but they may have had or seen something that was more clear, and I'm confident they did. They, you know, they get it right.
You've seen with Robert, just a lot of contact recently. And
Yeah, contact. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's really about the, you know, location. It's always going to be, you know, talk about our hitters. You know, we were more stingy on the plate, and, you know, we want to be more stingy in better spots with our pitches. You know, Nick was today. Morello was fantastic. I don't want to forget him either, because he was great for us today again. It just looks like it's too much middle. You know, too many across the, you know, the heart of the plate. And so, you know, when Robert's good, like any pitcher's good, he's able to command his fastball and, you know, have the secondary change up to complement it.
Doubleheaders challenge, but like the off day yesterday, because of the rain and the off day tomorrow? Like, does it make it a little bit less of a challenge for you?
I got 2 bullpens. I'm gonna be out for a while.
Okay, sounds good, Ruth. Yeah, it's the sandwiched off days help. You know, I mean, you get the benefit of the off day from yesterday, and you know you have to pay the fiddler today a little bit, but guys are gamers, ready to go. We got the first one now. We're looking to grab the second one and make this, you know, a solid road trip.
And obviously a game to go, but more at home, being able to do what he did is also, I assume.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. You know, to come in and get Schwarber and go back out and grab a 1, 2, 3, so we don't have to use another guy to get out of the eighth. And you know, again, killed their momentum and Suarez did his part. Now we're set up to have some guys to bring it home in the second game.
Team's unstoppable if they walk a bunch. The one thing that, you know, you have to read between the lines with Schulte. And when he was asked about Robert Suarez, he did not immediately start praising Robert. He kind of threw some criticism out there, which is rare to see from Schulte, is saying, look, he's too middle. He's got to work on his location. He didn't say this, but like essentially he was going on the path of his command has been a issue and a problem of late. And if he gets his command back, he's good, but he's got to fix his command.
Yeah, some of it is almost like opposite command because you've been so hittable. He's also issued walks, but he's just been so hittable.
Yeah.
Everything has just been right over the heart of the plate. It's a good point. All right, we're going to hear from Kevin Acee. We're heading out to Philly on the other side. Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs will join us at 3:30. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by OfferUp. Download the app today. Padres taking game one of the doubleheader in Philadelphia, 6-4. Game two at 3:15 this afternoon. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. And NBA news of the day: the Knicks, they finally have a head coach after firing Tom Thibodeau. Today they hired Mike Brown to be their next head coach. Sure, a box can bring you a smart TV, but it can't help you decipher the instructions. Alex, though, who sold you his on OfferUp, explained everything, what? Including how to use all the buttons on the remote. Download OfferUp and discover life outside the box.
All right, let's go to Philadelphia, where the Padres are coming off a game one win in a split doubleheader. They'll try to sweep this doubleheader coming up in just about 45 minutes. Still in Cease on the mound for San Diego. Always our pleasure. Always appreciate Kevin Acey's time between games. He just met with Mike Schilt, and the Padres again take game one 6-4. Well, I want to start with Robert Suarez. You know us. It got dicey in the ninth. It has not been a good month or so for Suarez overall. Is it fair to have the conversation about him no longer being the full-time closer, or what do you think happens next?
I think it's fair. I don't think there's a chance, like there's a snowball's chance in hell that he is removed like forthwith. That I'm not ruling it out at some point if it keeps going like this, because he's throwing a lot of pitches down the middle. But I think that closers are one where they take a long time to make that change. But the Padres do have some options there. I will say this, like, closers go through stuff and then they're fine. And you take him out of that, and I don't know that he's getting fine unless it's a situation like they did with Hader. Now, I don't think this is a Hader situation where he's given up, 7 runs every time he goes out there, and it's historic, but he is getting hit around. And I guess you could say that, hey, Robert, we're going to have you work on a few things. I haven't heard anything like that, but I guess that could happen. I don't see it happening here this weekend, let's say. I don't see it happening that quick.
The 9 walks, a season high, really good. Mike Schilt says they're unstoppable if they walk 9 times in a game. And I tend to agree. I mean, if you walk 9 times in a game, you should win those games because you're putting the pressure on the opposing pitchers. But back to the lineup, Kevin, Tatis back in the leadoff spot today. It feels like they're still trying to force Tatis to get going here. Is this something that we're going to continue to see with the lineup that's constantly changing, and just whatever happens, whatever happens first, they're going to just stick with it?
I can't rule that out now. I really did. I mean, this isn't what Mike wanted to do, but here he is. And he pled the fifth when talking about when asked, I asked him why go back to this. I'll still say that it's because of Tatis and trying to get him going. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why he went back today, except for what I said all along. You're throwing some names in the air, and wherever they land, you're putting them almost, because nothing has really worked. I did think that it was really important, or significant, I should say, that Mike made such a big deal out of the walks, because it has been stressed to these hitters. Like, you just got to be better, not necessarily at the walks, but at waiting for your pitch. So they did today, and it turned out that then also the Phillies pitchers, a couple of them, couldn't find the strike zone, and so it worked out for them.
Kevin Acey is our Padres insider. He's joining us between games. Padres and Phillies coming up game 2 in about 40 or 45 minutes. I know I've asked you this probably 3 times in the last month, but I'm going to ask it again because I'm just wondering if it changes or evolves. Like, what's the working theory on Tatis's struggles? They're not. It's not ridiculous. Like, it'll be a single. He's walking at a crazy clip. His on-base percentage is still very good. You made the point. Listen, if he doubles everything, it's a 30-30 year. When we had a conversation maybe a week or so ago, is there a working theory though on the general struggles that he's had over the last 2+ months?
Not that I am aware of, other than that he is down. I think he stopped tinkering necessarily, where like it seemed like a different batting stance every other time to the plate. But the conversations that I've had have been about Tatis believing in himself. Like, we've reached a point now where, whatever it is, 55 games, we can call it, where, I mean, it's like legit questions. I don't mean like legit questions like, is he any good? But like, you know, is he going to pull out of this? And I still think that's kind of silly for me to ask, but I'm asking it because it's longer than anything that we've ever seen. Outside of, now it's a little bit worse, or it was until the other day. Like you said, it's like 1 for 4 with a walk or whatever. He had a really, if you think about it, he had some good stretches, but mostly a really poor 2023. But that was so explainable, we thought, coming off of what he was coming off of in 22. It's really not that much worse than that. But yeah, my short answer, don't have an answer, because all the conversations I've had have centered around him believing in himself.
So Sunday's the next day the Padres need a starter with Ryan Berger still on the IL. Is there an outside chance this could be Yu Darvish making his season debut? Because it would line up, Kevin, if Sunday was his day, or is that not something that you've heard as a possibility?
Not something I've heard, and it would go counter to what I have heard, which is the reason that I don't know that he's going to do a rehab start, so it could happen, okay? But I don't know that they think that 64 pitches is enough, because they don't know what will have happened before that, and they have 7 more straight games, so it's the 3rd game of 10 in a row going to the All-Star break, and that they can't afford to have him come back and tax the bullpen. So they would have to, if you're going to have him start, you got to plan for it, right? And so what happens the night before if the bullpen gets run ragged, and then Yu goes out there and he can only go 3 innings or 4 innings? So I don't think so, but it is certainly something that is in my notes to ask, hey, what is next for Yu Darvish?
2 of the last 3 starts for Dylan Cease. We're with Kevin Acee right now. I go back to that game at Dodger Stadium, 6 runs allowed in 5 innings. There was the game in Cincinnati, where I think it went just 4 innings in that outing. We ask all the time. I mean, every start's an important one, and the next start is always the most important one of the season for a starter. But what do you make of where Cease is right now? A 4.53 ERA this year. Obviously, he's taken a step back. And what hopes does he have to turn this around in the second half of the season for the Padres?
Just the fact that he's Dylan Cease, I guess that's really it, because like we've all been kind of excited before, right? Like, oh, there's the Dylan Cease. And then, you know, you expected based on his history being streaky, like once he gets going, you expect that he'd get going. Well, I mean, now he's back to sort of him. He's battling the confidence in addition to trying to get consistency with his mechanics. He is still saying there's a lot of season left, and I guess there is, right? Like there's 17 starts or 16 starts left. It's always in there. That's one thing you know, but that's kind of something you say about a number 4 starter, not a guy you thought was going to be one of your, co-number 1s. So thank goodness for Nick Pivetta. And every start is like, okay, what are we going to get? And then guess what? If he goes out and he shoves today, we'll still be saying it next time, because he has not put together, that string of starts that you need out of a guy like Dylan Cease.
Kevin, what's the latest you've heard on the trade rumor mill with the Padres, and how important? I mean, we know the importance of the next month, but as far as the aggressiveness that AJ Preller might show if this team plays well, or if the team doesn't play well, what could AJ, be leaning towards doing here at the trade deadline?
Everything is full speed ahead in terms of looking to improve and adding the offense that they need to add. There, from my understanding, still is a point of like people are asking for players they're not going to give up, like primarily relievers. That's where if the Padres were going to deal from a position of strength, and if they were willing to give up an Adrian Morejon, which they're not, they could really improve their offense probably. But that's what people like. We're at that point, is what I mean, is like, that sounds pretty preliminary, because like the Padres aren't making those deals where they're giving up major league talent, and but they're full speed ahead, and at least what they're putting out is that they're confident they're going to be able to improve their team with a right-handed regular player, be that left field, DH, whatever, however they got to fit this guy in. Another bench piece. They really believe they need that. They're looking at catcher and they think they'll be able to get one. I firmly believe, I just do, and I wrote about it the other day. Like, I firmly believe at some point here we're going to see Luis Camposano behind the plate, and kind of almost like I guess the way I put it the other day was a real chance, that he gets a real chance, not like what he got earlier this year. And then it's almost like a tryout. Like, do we need to trade for a catcher, at the last minute, or can Luis Camposano be one of our guys? Because they can't keep going like this. So that's the lead up to the trade deadline.
It almost felt like, and you wrote about it, you wrote it very well. It almost felt like it was a breaking point the other day where they're pinch hitting in the 5th inning, and the player they're turning to is a guy with very limited major league experience. And that's not to knock Trenton Brooks, but that's not the depth maybe you're looking for off your bench. It's also not the offensive productivity you're looking from the catching spot. And to your point, is that sustainable for the second half of the year? And I guess the writing might be on the wall that it really isn't.
It could be if the rest of the offense was doing its thing, right? And you have a manager who is really believing in that whole, behind the plate thing. But yeah, it's not sustainable for this offense at all. At all. Like when I write something like that, like I've been talking to people aren't saying that's going to happen. They're not, but they're not saying it's not going to happen. And there's something of a split, as there always is. I mean, it's rarely unanimous, right? Like if Barry Bonds was on the team, on your team, it'd be unanimous. That, hey, that's the guy we should be starting. But there's a split as to how important that behind the plate is. And by that, I mean, it comes down to how low can you go offensively to make it not worth it anymore. And I believe that they are right there.
Makes a lot of sense. Kevin, we appreciate the time. Safe travels back to San Diego, and we will catch up with you on, we won't do it on Friday. It's July 4th. We'll catch up with you on Monday, and have a good holiday.
Right on. All right. Take care, guys. You too.
All right, great stuff. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, of course, brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players' Place. We react, plus that update on Yu Darvish we'll share with you on the other side. Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs at 3:30. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. We remind you to download the all-new iHeartRadio app. It is loaded with John and Jim content. So find us there on the iHeartRadio app.
And if you follow us on the iHeartRadio app, you get reminders daily, which I get, to listen to our podcasts of things that you
get
missed.
Like a pop-up like, hey, John and Jim are on the air.
You also get notifications.
Yeah, you're looking for more notifications on your phone?
Yeah, make sure you also follow San Diego Sports 760 to get daily push notifications about when we're on the air, what we're talking about, to make sure to listen. And then if you follow our podcast page on the iHeartRadio app, you'll get notifications to listen to anything that you missed of the show the previous day.
All right, so you mentioned this with Kevin, that Yu Darvish threw 64 pitches in a sim game. And this was yesterday, Single A Lake Elsinore, 4 innings, quote unquote, 64 pitches. And then it goes on to theorize that he could return as soon as Sunday to the Padres rotation without making an official rehab start. I mean, he's not required to make the rehab start. They've given him that, what Mike Schild has referred to as a controlled environment. Even if it's not Sunday, Jim, it sounds like it's almost sooner rather than later. I don't know if it's imminent, but if it's not Sunday, maybe it's next week. But it does appear as if they're lining Yu Darvish up to pitch before the break.
And you can't, you can plan this thing out and say, all right, he's pitching on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But still, there's a game Tuesday. And if they use the bullpen on Tuesday, they can't, things happen. It's not just, hey, by the way, Tuesday, we're not using our bullpen because Yu Darvish is pitching Wednesday.
And then Thursday, hey, starter, go be really good because we had to use our bullpen the day before.
Yeah. The best case scenario is to do it coming off of an off day. So maybe he starts the first game out of the break. I don't
think so because he was a sim game on what day of the week was yesterday? Tuesday. I don't think you go 64 pitches and then pitch Friday.
Well, the reason why I said Sunday, one, because Burgert on the IL. There's no pitcher scheduled for Sunday yet. It lines up perfectly with Yu Darvish as far as his regular rest goes, to get him on a regular rest rotation. And it gives him an opportunity to have at least 2 starts before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it at all. And Kevin said, well, maybe because he's thrown 64 pitches, maybe they give him another sim game and work him up further. But I mean, 64 pitches is a good amount. Let's say you then went to 70 plus in a major league game. I mean, you got a chance to go 5 innings throwing 70 plus pitches. No guarantee. But let's even say Yu Darvish in his return went 4+ innings. That's not breaking your bullpen. If Yu Darvish goes 4 1/3 innings in his debut, there's a scenario where he doesn't. Yeah. You're right. But if he went 4 1/3 innings, that's not breaking your bullpen.
Yeah, you have a plan in place for Yu Darvish, and you schedule everything out. It's not like you want him to go 6 innings, 7 innings in his return.
No.
He'll go max 5 innings depending on his pitch count.
Yeah, more likely probably
4. And I don't think that's going to break the bullpen.
No, the concern is if it was
up in the first.
Yeah, if it's 1 inning, then it becomes a concern. But you are talking about Yu Darvish, who even when he came out of that rehab start in AAA and we didn't see him for 6 weeks, he navigated his AAA start. I mean, this is a very effective major league pitcher, even if not perfectly right, even if we haven't seen him in 3 months. The expectation's not going to be coming in like, oh, I pray he gets out of the first inning and doesn't allow 5 runs. Right. I mean, it's Yu Darvish. Yeah. They'd like to think he's going to give him a chance to be successful.
My biggest question with Yu Darvish, how many more sim games is he going to pitch?
What's his sim game record? 6-1?
He's undefeated in his sim games.
Is he going to be announced at 4 p.m. when they announce the All-Stars? Are they announcing the sim game All-Star team?
Well, he'd be the starter in that game.
He'd be he's got all the votes.
Because they're treating sim games like rehab assignments for him.
Yeah, and honestly, I understand it.
I do too.
Because apparently the thing in AAA when he pitched in Vegas went haywire. His one rehab start has set him back weeks.
Yeah, but the sim game is a controlled environment, correct?
Yeah, this rehab game, though, thing, they had to send him to Vegas.
Let me get this straight. Hold on. Is the big leagues a controlled environment?
No, but it's hey, sometimes you got to swim.
Yeah.
But he can swim.
I know he can swim.
But unless he's not healthy.
That's the biggest question.
If he's not healthy, you can sim game it all you want. You can AAA it all you want. You can do whatever the heck you want. You can't hide an unhealthy pitcher.
Yeah, Jordan said in the chat, he's a Hall of Fame sim game guy.
He's right. He's Hall of Fame sim game.
Retired his number for the sim game Hall of Fame.
200+ wins between Japan, Major League Baseball, and sim games in his career. He's a very good pitcher. You just hope he's healthy in the second half of the year. If that means he returns Sunday, great. If he returns next Friday, great. If it's the first day after the All-Star break, truthfully, great. If he's healthy.
And for me, I'll be holding my breath
Every time out.
every, pitch he throws, every outing, every start that he makes for this team. After the start, the next couple days, you're just holding your breath.
Absolutely.
Now, if he does come back and he pitches on regular rest, and they might give him a couple extra days in between starts here and there, and he makes it to the rest of the season, that's great. But I'm still worried that he'll come back, make a couple starts, and then something's going to pop up. Just because this has been a long rehab for you, Darvish. For what was the initial injury?
Elbow strain. How about this? 264 days since Game 5 of the NLDS, which he started.
He was fantastic.
264 days, and of course, he isn't pitching today, so it's going to be more than that. In that outing against the Dodgers, he gave them a chance to win if their offense did anything. 6 2/3 innings, 2 runs, but that's the last time he's appeared in a major league game. And you're right, that postseason, the other outing against the Dodgers, 7 innings, 1 run. So that's why you need him healthy in the second half of the year. You need to get to the postseason. You need to rely on you, Darvish, in the postseason. And that's why I'm not overly concerned about him returning Sunday. If they want to be cautious here and give him another sim game, I'm with you on the controlled environment, though. At some point, you can't have the swimmies on anymore. At some point, you take the training wheels off. Yeah. And it can be hard. You can simulate a radio show. They seriously can. They turn the mics on and they record it. Then you do the show. You're like, that was nothing like what we practiced.
But the good thing is, Darvish has done this a couple times before.
He's
a
like,
vet.
He already knows how to ride a bike.
Exactly.
So I'm confident in you. I'm just never confident in someone's health. No, why you?
I know.
Do you know how to swim, right?
I do know how to swim, John. Do you know how to swim?
I do.
Now, you don't know how to ride a bike.
Correct. Nor does Jones.
So those training wheels are never coming off for you, is what you're telling me.
I don't even get on.
Have you ever tried?
I don't know how to teach Jones how to bike because I am so fearful of a bike because they only have 2 wheels.
You know how I learned how to ride a bike is my stepbrother, Greg. He was pushing me from the back.
Yeah, and then you let go.
And then he just let go, and I just went. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, it's easy. Easy.
Well, then bring Greg over. Because we might need him. I certainly need. I'm not getting on. At this point, again, I think of the 2 life skills, what would I prefer to know how to do, swim or bike? Because I feel like swim is a life skill because you could end up in a bad situation.
Very quickly,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen, and it's super dangerous. So I feel like swimming, and Jones can swim.
That's good.
Which is a good life skill. Now, biking, we have cars. I have a car. It's beautiful. If he needs to get somewhere, we can get in the car and drive. Where's he biking?
Can you, those motorized scooters? Can you ride one of those?
Can I?
Yeah.
A motorcycle?
Not a motorcycle. I said a scooter.
Give me the example. A moped?
Like a moped.
I'm not getting a moped.
No, like those stupid thing people would drive down in Petco like 2 years ago. The little charge ones.
It's it's like
because they'd ride in the
scooter.
street. Yes.
Hell no.
I said scooter.
I can't ride that. Jones can.
Okay.
That's the thing that Darren broke his
shoulder,
collarbone on?
Yes.
No, if Darren broke his collarbone, I'm not getting on that thing. You know me, I have a fear of everything.
I know.
I don't know what that's called, but I have a fear of everything.
What is it?
He's agoraphobia.
Hypochondriac kind of.
Hold on.
No, hypochondriac.
That's being sick.
Fear
I always
of
think you're sick.
everything.
Yeah, what's a fear of everything?
Let's say agoraphobia.
OCD?
A fear of everything is a pantophobia.
Yeah, I have that. And that's why I was scared that Robert Suarez is going to blow the lead in the 9th inning. Because I have a fear of everything.
A pantophobia is an extreme, wide-ranging fear of many different things that can disrupt your life.
Seriously, I have some degree of that. Not the full essence of it, but I have some degree of that.
Panphobia is
Fear of everything.
Yeah, pantophobia. There you go.
Yeah, do I have a fear of the
Fear of
ocean?
pants.
Yeah, do I want to get in the ocean? Is there sharks in there? No, not necessarily. All right, who does ESPN think the Padres should acquire at the deadline? We've got the latest there. Plus, Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs will join us at 3:30. We're getting you ready for Game 2. Dylan Cease pitching in Philadelphia coming up later this afternoon. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update's brought to you by eBay. Padres took game 1 of the doubleheader today over the Phillies, 6-4. Game 2, 3:15 this afternoon. Dylan Cease will be on the mound for the Padres. NBA news of the day: Mike Brown has been hired to be the Knicks' new head coach, and it's just been reported within the last hour that DeAndre Ayton is expected to sign a contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. Swapping out your tires, there's nothing like it. With eBay, you find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's John and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of John and Jim. We have Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs joining us in 30 minutes, and he will talk about the Padres as we enter the second half of the season. I mean, you think second half, you're always thinking after the All-Star break, but we're in the second half of the season. Also, I want to say, coming up in an hour, All-Star starters will be announced. Of course, we're waiting on Manny Machado.
We can rage about that.
I hope that
Potentially.
Manny, I think Manny, he was in the lead yesterday, so
I hope
hopefully
so.
he was able to maintain that and will start, which is an honor that he deserves, and came through again here today. But Dan Zimborski is going to join us. We're reacting to a Padres game 1 win. Brent made the point off air, like, everyone's like going crazy. I mean, they did win game 1.
Right. They
I
scored
think
6 runs.
Yeah, I do think there's reasons to critique because of what played out there in the late innings, but they did win in Philadelphia. It hasn't been the easiest place to win this year for opponents. So, I mean, it's a good win. It's a good start to the day. We'll see if they can finish it off.
This is a completely random thought, and it just reminded me of it because of our chat.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Rich McGuire in the chat reminded me.
Okay.
During the game today, I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if you watched the entire game or if you caught it on the broadcast.
Right.
Trent Brooks was the DH game 1 today. And on the broadcast, they mentioned Trent Brooks, nice power bat.
Yeah, not necessarily.
And then, no joke, the second after they said that on the broadcast, he squares up the bunt. And I'm
Wait.
like, what?
I mean,
I was like, wait, power bat, and then he squares up the bunt, the magic bullet.
I was going to say, it goes back to what Schilt said about Brooks. It goes back to them pinch hitting for Trenton Brooks.
That's not the story today.
No,
I just was thinking of it because I saw it in the chat and I had to bring it up because I thought that was so funny how the broadcast said he was a power bat off their bench, yet he's hitting like 130 and he scored the bunt the second that was said.
And here's the one thing I would say: never give me AAA numbers.
Never.
Don't tell. Well, he hit 14 home runs in AAA this year. I don't care.
No.
I've seen guys that hit like 30 home runs there and they can't. I mean, Luis Campusano, perfect example. He's like the greatest hitter ever in AAA.
He's Barry Bonds light.
He literally cannot get a hit as of yet in the major leagues. So ESPN just posted an article, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the trade deadlines now. What's the second? I mean, you're 4 weeks out. You're exactly 4 weeks out. I think 29 days out at this point. And ESPN writes this in terms of player the Padres should acquire at the deadline. They write Marcell Ozuna. And then they put this: the Padres have used their DH slot to give Manny, Xander, and others an occasional day off from the field, but it has not worked. With the Padres ranking near the bottom of baseball in OPS at DH, Ozuna's June slump is a concern, but his on-base percentage would be the best on the team and help boost an offense that ranks in the bottom third in the National League in runs per game. So that's at ESPN at this hour. Marcell Ozuna as a possible addition for the Padres within the next 4 weeks.
I like that name.
Yeah.
He is a pure rental because he's an unrestricted free agent, or not, sorry, unrestricted. He's just a free agent in 2026. My mind's on basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a free agent after this year. He's making $16 million. So you about what, 8, 7, 2 or something like crazy.
Yeah,
something
like that. 6, 7.
Yeah, $7 million.
Yeah.
You pick up for the rest of the season. You look at his numbers this year, they're fine. He's hitting 244 with 11 home runs, 40 RBIs, and 35 runs scored. He is the right-handed power bat that this team could definitely use.
Yeah.
Problem is he's a rental. And I know Preller likes to have guys that are under control.
What's the cost there? I mean, let's just say Atlanta's selling off because, I mean, at this point, maybe the writing's on the wall. They're not making some run.
Probably wouldn't be a lot.
Spencer Schwellenbacho's on the IL today. Yeah, that's the thing. If it's not a lot, if it's a reasonable cost, it's a player to absolutely keep an eye on. Right-handed bat. You mentioned yesterday
Adolis Garcia.
who's a right-handed bat who's probably not had the same year in terms of OPS as Ozuna.
No, but he is controllable.
Controllable. I like that. So everything's going to have a pro and a con unless you're acquiring like Juan Soto. And even that didn't work out perfectly. But everything's going to have a pro and a con. What are you truly looking for? And that's why we need more data, like we always hear. We need, and I thought AC was right. Like everything's on the table. There's 29 days until the trade deadline. So everything's on the table.
Zolas Garcia's, his on-base percentage is never good.
Right.
His on-base
is.
His on-base this year is 276.
I mean, that's not even comparable.
No. What's Ozuna's again?
369, which in today's baseball is a huge number. So he's getting on base at a near 40% clip. This team can't score runs.
Yeah. If you were to ask me right now, you put those two players in front of me, who would you choose? I would choose Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, I would too. Now, I like what you said about Adolis Garcia because I like the 2026 control. I like starting with that player potentially, and maybe he builds off. Maybe this is a down year, but next year is a better year.
Could you go out and get both of them?
You might be able to, truthfully. And you might want to, and I'll tell you why. Because even if you were, let's say, DHing one of these players or putting one of these players in the outfield, it doesn't really solve your bench issue necessarily. And we just mentioned the fact that Trenton Brooks is their power hitter off the bench, or whether he's starting or coming off the bench. I mean, they need to add a bench piece. Again, you just want to be well-rounded. And I thought in 2024 they were well-rounded. This team isn't as well-rounded as 2024. Doesn't mean they can't make the postseason, but I feel like a well-rounded team is a dangerous team. And I think both of those players would not cost some huge amount to potentially acquire.
Especially with a guy like Ozuna, who is a rental.
Right. Now that dollar figure, he said is
about $7 million.
That's not nothing to take on in salary for 2 months.
The reports have been that the Padres would be willing to add salary at the deadline. They're not adding like $20 million. If they could get two players and they add
10 total,
could you do it?
I mean, I like
could you push it? Could you push it here? Now, this is all dependent. I think if the Padres play well, I think it'd be much easier to convince John Seidler to maybe push it a little bit and ownership to push it. But if they don't play well, it's not going to be easy to do that. So that's why the next 3 weeks especially are just, man, they're so important just for the direction of the rest of the season for this team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's my question, Jim. What if they don't make it abundantly clear for Preller? As in, what if they're just in between? They're kind of this team. They're 8 over.
That's still enough.
That's enough.
It's enough.
So you don't need to see anything. Really, you don't need to see it definitively stamped. Last year was definitively stamped. They went 8-1 in their last 9 games,
and they beat the Dodgers in a 2-game series here before.
Right, so 10-1 or whatever in their last 11 games. Yeah. So they stamped it, and then the other years, it's like 2023. They could have sold off based on how they were playing. But so you're saying just stay where you are or get better, and then make the moves to be a real buyer.
That's what I said. Is if they go 6-4 on the homestand, even if they lose today, you're 9 up going into the All-Star break. You come out of 8 up? 8?
Yeah, because the math on 1 up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if they win the doubleheader, second game of the doubleheader today, 3-3 road trip, that's great. 6-4 in your 10-game homestand.
Then you're 10 up.
Then you're 10 up. All you need to do out of the break is just go 5-5 on that 10-game road trip.
And you're 10 up.
And you're still 10 up going into the All-Star break.
I agree.
The trade deadline. AJ Preller is going to be aggressive.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, it doesn't matter if the team is hot. If the team is 7, 8, 9 games above 500, he will be aggressive.
Yeah, I think you're
Even
right.
if they're playing kind of 500-ish ball.
Yeah, you're right. So you're basically saying, and I agree, right now they're 7 up. If they're 500 until the deadline, if that math works, they're 7 up. I'm with you. Why would he be like, I'm going to be tepid? No, you're 7 up, and you're probably like a game up at a playoff spot. So, like, why are you going to be tepid? Like, you've done all this work. Yep. You've invested hundreds of millions of dollars. Manny Machado's 33 this weekend, right? Or is he already 33? He's about to be 33. I think it's July 5th or 6th.
Oh.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
When's Manny Machado's birthday,
I don't
Jim?
keep track of these players' birthdays like Ben Fadden.
True. July 6th. So he's 33 this weekend. Hey, Ben. He's 33 this weekend. And he's about to be...
Brent, phone.
And he's about to have 2. I'm just saying, like, you're only going to get so many more runs with Manny.
Yeah.
So you're right. This is the year to once again reinvest.
You already decided to go for it at the start of the season by keeping Cease and King and Arise and Suarez.
Right.
So why would anything be different if the team is 5, 6, 7 games above 500 at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, mission will still be go ahead and go forward full speed ahead.
Yeah, and I think as it should. Truthfully, I think as it should. All right, let's go to the phones real quick here. Again, coming up at 3:30, Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs will join us. We're getting you ready for game 2 of this doubleheader, and Darren wants to weigh in. 877-767-4760. Darren, you're on with John and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Gentlemen, what's going on this
What's up,
afternoon?
man? How are you?
Good. Hey, I just called in, honestly, because I heard Jim say, in the definitive way in which he said it is exactly what I've been having the same conversations as far as, like, what is the number of games where you're like, hey, this is enough to where we buy it. And I honestly feel like that 8 games is, like, more than enough, because I know a lot of people are already, who are trying to talk themselves off the ledge this year are like, hey, last year we were 1 game up at the break, and then I'm pretty sure the game right after the break, we lost and got shut out against Cleveland, and we were back to 500.
Yep.
And that team obviously was the second most wins in franchise history. So although I do think this team is a little different and their, underlying numbers aren't maybe quite as promising, I do think that 7-8 game level is probably right. Like, yeah, if they're only a game or 2 up this year, I don't really think it's worth losing a lot. I mean, if you want to add on the margins to make a push for like the last wild card spot, fine. But yeah, if they're what they are right now on July 28th, I think you have to add, because not only could you get into the playoffs, you could possibly host a playoff game the way that the NL seems like it might be working out, but it just comes down to how they fare, because they do have a nice kind of easier September schedule. So if you're factoring that in, yeah, if you're 7 or 8 games up at the break, you're thinking that you have a chance to win 90 games. If not, maybe let's pause.
Thank you, Darren.
Very well said.
I'm on team Jim and Darren. I agree. If you're 7-8, where it starts getting muddy is right there in the non-enviable sweet spot of like 3 up.
Because their August schedule is
tough.
Very tough.
Yeah.
And if you enter August at 1 or 2 games above 500, you're asking them to do exactly what they did last year against a really tough schedule.
Right.
In August, especially. In September, as Darren said there, I've talked about it. Just look at September, guys. It's there on a silver platter. Now they have to play good baseball, but they've played good baseball against bad teams this year. It's the good teams that they've had problems with. And that's why August will be so difficult for them, I think, because they're essentially playing only good teams in August, albeit take away maybe 1 or 2 series.
All right, more of your calls on the other side, plus Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs coming up at 3:30. Are you buying at 7 games over 500?
100%.
Right. If they go 500 from now until the deadline, are you a buyer? And I tend to agree. 877-767-4760. Dan Zimborski at 3:30. If you're on the line, you can hold. We'll get to you in 5 minutes. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, the iHeartRadio Music Festival's back. Live performances by Bryan Adams, Mariah Carey, Maroon 5, and more. September 19th and 20th, T-Mobile in Vegas, 2 nights, 1 stage. Buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out. We're going to go back to the phones. And then Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs at 3:30. Love it. All right. Turn your mic on or people can't hear you.
I know, John. I understand.
All right. Eric, we appreciate you holding for us. 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in. Eric, you're on with John and Jim.
Hey, guys. Good afternoon.
What's up, man?
I was just listening. Thanks for the call again. And listening on the Darvish conversation that was being had. And, as a fan, coming from a fan's perspective, you, Darvish, I think rushing Darvish, and I know there wasn't any mention of Michael King back into the rotation, might not be as productive and promising as we think. I mean, we got an ace in Nick Pivetta, and I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. And one other thing on pitching, what do you guys think about acquiring a left-handed starter? I know we had Kyle Hart at the beginning of the year, and that didn't really pan out, but I can't remember the last time we had an effective left-handed starting pitcher in San Diego.
Thanks for the call, Eric. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. I mean, what do you think about starting pitching in general? Like, where is that going to be on the list with King dealing with what King's dealing with and Darvish dealing with what Darvish is dealing with? I mean, is starting pitching going to be on their list?
It's always on the list.
So it has to be on the list.
Yeah, it's always on the list, regardless. Like last year, the pitching was, would you say, is better off last year than this year so far? Or kind of around the same? They had 2 starters last year, essentially, for the whole entire year.
I know.
And Darvish and Musgrove were dealing with injuries for the entire season.
Yeah, so maybe it's similar.
And they still went out and got pitching. So I think that if there's an opportunity to get a left-handed starter, which is a great point by Eric there, like they need a lefty. You're right. They don't have a lefty in this rotation.
Right.
So going out and seeing the market on a left-handed pitcher, I'm sure they're doing it for sure. I don't have a name in mind, but I think the perfect trade deadline would be right-handed bat, upgraded catcher, and a left-handed pitcher. Now it's easier said than done.
Now the cost is starting to go up. And the reason I say it is oftentimes when you're trading for starting pitching, I mean, these salaries also are going to be in that 20 range for the year, which is you're taking on 7 or 8 in starting pitching.
Well, could you kill 2 birds with 1 stone from a team and get a right-handed bat and a pitcher? Or could you
Ohtani?
No, Ohtani. Well, he's a right-handed pitcher. So
I know, but wait, say it again.
A right-handed bat and a left-handed pitcher, kill 2 birds with 1 stone by trading with just 1 team instead of having to trade with multiple teams to get that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it's possible. But hear me out. Let's just use Atlanta as the example.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams are going to try to go after Atlanta to get their players.
But also, if you took on salary from Atlanta, like it's one thing, like you said, okay, maybe the Padres are positioned to take on 5 or 10 million in salary. Are they positioned to take on 10 or 20 million in salary? We're talking some real salary. Marcell Ozuna, like you said, might be an addition of 7 million in the second half of the year. Starting pitching might be an addition of 7+ million in the second half of the year. Maybe they can do it. I'd love for them to do it. I hope money's not going to hold them back if they're playing good baseball. Can you shed salary anywhere? In the Robert Suarez conversation that we had earlier?
Yeah.
Maybe
that's the way you could do it. But I don't think they're going to do it.
Either do I.
You could shed it with trading Dylan Cease, but there's not a chance.
Doesn't make sense if you're in it.
Nope.
And they should be in it. Nobody wants to have the Dylan Cease trade conversation.
No. You could just imagine if there's 7-8 games above 500 at the trade deadline and they are it's second in the wild card. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Ticker comes down. Kevin AC is reporting that the Padres have just traded Dylan Cease.
I don't see it. I don't see the big sell, the big buy and the big sell. I never am a fan of that, by the way. Mm-hmm. When a team like has a huge, significant sell-off and then a big addition, I'm like, what are you really doing?
It's different. And if you want to go back, well, look at 2021. That team didn't have it. That team was like, how many games above 500 were they at the deadline?
A lot. 12.
Or if you look at 2023, like that team didn't have it. I'll agree with that.
Yep.
I'll agree with that. I don't feel that way about this team like I felt about the 2023 team. The 2023 team was way more frustrating than this team has been.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, as much as I think Mike Schilt is one of the cringiest people on the planet, I still believe in him as a manager, and I believe in second half Schilt to an extent. Now it has to, come to fruition, but I believe in Mike Schilt. I think he's a good manager. I don't think this thing is going to spiral to where we've seen it spiral in the past with this team.
No, I mean, I like it. Listen, some of the pitchers that the Padres have been tied to, for example, like CBS Sports put out that list of top 25 players that might be available at the deadline. I mean, they were tying them to right-handed starting pitching. Freddie Peralta is as good of a starter that's available.
Yeah, it's going to cost you.
Sandy Alcantara is going to cost you too. Controllable right-handed starter.
Jim Bowden's like screaming at a wall somewhere. Trade everything.
How could you not trade DeVries
and Salas for a Contra?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's a fair point from Eric. Do you add left-handed starting pitching, and where is it among, again, your needs at the deadline if you are AJ Preller? All right, we are going to catch up with Dan Zimborski, friend of the show, on the other side. He is great with the analytics. He really is. He's been at Fangraphs for a long time. So Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs on the other side. His thoughts on the Padres' true needs heading into the deadline. We'll get that from Dan on the other side. His thoughts on the playoff race as well in the National League. So Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs will join us on the other side of a break. We'll keep you updated on Padres and Phillies as well. So don't go anywhere. This is John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, hey guys, it is us again, John and Jim, for the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Get there this weekend, Saturday, July 5th. It's San Diego's biggest barbecue. Free food from noon to 3, $25,000 hot seats from 3 to 7. Join them for free food, live music for all Sweetwater Rewards members. Swipe at any promotional kiosk after 12 p.m. for your ticket to the party. And then starting at 3, they're giving away $1,000 in free play every 10 minutes.
And then Sunday, go back to Jamul Casino for their lobster brunch at Prime Cut, featuring lobster tails and hand-carved prime ribs served every Sunday from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. It's a perfect way to treat yourself to a Sunday well spent.
Also, Monday Night Live going on throughout July. A chance to win big. 10 winners every hour at 7, 8, and 9 p.m. Your odds are better than ever with Monday Night Live. Make sure to get out to the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place.
This update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres Phillies game 2 is underway in Philadelphia, scoreless in the top of the second inning. Of course, the Padres took game 1 this morning from the Phillies 6-4. And NBA news of the day: the New York Knicks finally have a head coach. They hired Mike Brown to be their head coach after firing Tom Thibodeau after making the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Lakers are expected to sign center DeAndre Ayton. How many times have we all said that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back, and it's got everyone saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos, plus quality products delivered next day to over 98% of the U.S. Staples. That was easy.
All right, John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Great to reconnect with Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs. Great resource for baseball fans and Padres fans as we're into the second half of the year. We're about 4 weeks out from the trade deadline. Dan, we appreciate you once again joining us in San Diego. When you look at where the Padres are right now, an amazing start to the year, kind of middling since. What do you see as their true need or needs as we approach the trade deadline?
Well, I think what's interesting about the Padres is they're probably about where we saw them about, on average coming into the season. Ups and downs have kind of melded into this kind of middling. They're on pace for, I believe, 89 wins, which is not an unusual expectation. I think they still need offense from a few offense primary positions. They've gotten very little out of left field combined. They've gotten absolutely nothing total out of DH. Their DH spot is like a 530 OPS, which is absurdly low. They could use a bat. The question is, will the money work out? Will the trades work out? That's a to be determined.
Fernando Tatis Jr. has been in a slump for the last 2 months here. The projections on him after his first 3 seasons, I'm sure, were like MVP / almost Hall of Fame level of production. But the last 3 years, he's taken a massive dip for his standards that started out his career. How are the projections for Tatis going forward, and what kind of player could you realistically expect to see here?
Well, he's still generally had strong projections, and it looked like for the first couple of months that he was kind of back. He was hitting at the same level as 2019 to 2021. I think people sometimes forget how young he was then. I mean, he's not an old player now. He's 26. So there's a lot of baseball left in him. I think he's a bit better than this, but every year he doesn't fully get back to that level, the less likely it becomes. But where he is, a guy who puts up a 340, 350 on base percentage, slugs 500, plays a really good defensive corner outfield, that's still a valuable player. It's just not what they hoped for. And that upside still remains, but it's not certain at this point.
Good insight. Dan Szymborski, Fangraphs, back with us right now on John and Jim. Manny Machado has put together another really quality season. I mean, seemingly he does it each and every year. How long should Padres fans expect this level of production? I think he's turning 33 on Sunday, but he's been one of the most consistent hitters in the game for years at this point.
Yeah, it looked a few years ago like he was starting that slow decline, but he's come back. And as importantly as his bat is, his glove has generally come back also. There were a few years in his early Padres stint where his defensive numbers weren't quite as good. But now you look at them, he's like, he can still play third base for a long time, because that's kind of where he runs into the problems. If he ages out of the position, does he hit well enough to play first base in 3 or 4 years? He is, you look where he is now. I mean, he's going to clear 2,000 hits in the next week or so, I guess. He's putting together a Hall of Fame resume. He's not far from having my vote. I think probably if he was hit by a bus, I'd vote for him today. But I think that he's the last problem the Padres have. And if he became a problem, then everything's already gone to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Exactly. The bullpen for the Padres has been used a lot this year. Today, Robert Suarez once again shaky in the 9th inning. When you look at all of the back end relievers for the Padres, and Robert Suarez is, for his standards or for what he has done in his career, this is kind of a shaky year for him so far. He's got an ERA over 4. He does have 23 saves, but guys like Adrian Morejon and Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada, do you think that there should be a discussion about maybe changing up the closer position, or would you still say that Robert Suarez, his numbers pan out to where, he's fine as a closer spot. He's just going through a rough patch right now.
I think he's fine. I think what the Padres need to look at is, especially as he gets closer to the deadline, I mean, it's only 4 weeks away now, is to add to that depth in the back of that bullpen. Because if you have more arms at the back of the bullpen that you can count on these medium leverage innings, you kind of give the high leverage guys a break. You look at Suarez, he's on pace for the most innings he's thrown in his career in the majors. You look at, they've been really reliant on their first four relievers, as you mentioned, Suarez, Adam Estrada, and Morejon. So anything to take off that load, I think kind of has a domino effect where it makes them better. But I think you have to add that depth because you get to the postseason, the bullpen still isn't. You don't want them dead at that point, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And you're
having death going on here, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at, I think Jason Adam might lead baseball right now in appearances. It's a fair point, but you're going to need them to be fresh if they get into October. Dan Zaborski from Fangraphs with us right now on John and Jim. What about starting pitching? I mean, I feel like we're covering all the areas where they might need to upgrade, but I say it because Michael King is out right now due to injury. Who really knows about his return? Yu Darvish has missed the entire year to this point. It sounds as if he's getting closer to returning. Do the Padres need to add at least some depth in the rotation over the next 4 weeks?
I think the big problem with the pitching addition is there doesn't seem to be anyone who's on the level of, the last few years, all the talk about Skubal when the Tigers were kind of thinking about trading him maybe with Gary Crochet. I don't think you have any guys on that level, but there are some arms out there. I think the Orioles are going to kind of throw in the towel in the next few weeks. They're going to trade Zach Eflin. And I think the Padres do need to get that extra arm because you look at the Dodgers as kind of a cautionary tale. They've survived a lot of pitching injuries, but they've had a lot of pitchers on that roster to survive that. And the problem is if you get to October and you have two starters who are healthy, you're going to have to ride that bullpen. And that bullpen's already pretty tired now. So they need to add innings wherever they can, I think, at this point. Not necessarily pick up a superstar that may not be available, but just get some guys who can eat some innings and just not have them backfire on the way back.
The thing with, rookies that have fantastic years is they're always the question of sophomore slumps. And we went through the numbers yesterday, Dan, with Jackson Merrill at this exact time last year compared to this exact time right now. And while Jackson Merrill, he hasn't put up a bunch of power recently, he hasn't hit a home run in over a month. His average is still very good. His OPS is still very good. The projections for him, started the season, we thought this guy could hit 30 home runs. But he's missed some time for injury. For the rest of this year and going forward, how would you project Jackson Merrill out? And you don't consider this anywhere close to like a quote-unquote sophomore slump with him, right?
Not really. One of the things about sophomore slumps is when you look at guys who have the best season, there's always going to be kind of a step back, just like with any player who has a great season. They're going to have regression toward the mean. Generally speaking, the guys who are the best rookies had a better than average season for them because the guys who had a worse than average season are probably still in the minors. So a step back was always a possibility. Like when you come into the season, the Zips projections had him at a 781 OPS. The Steamer projections had him at an 804 OPS. And he's at 786 this year. So this isn't actually that far different from what the projection said. It was a reasonable drop-off. And I think that if you look at his drop-off compared to, say, that of Jackson Chourio, I think the Padres had to be happy with him. I think he's doing what he should. Going into the expectation that he was going to be like a 5 or 6 WAR player every year, that's kind of a little asking a lot of really of anybody except for a handful of players in baseball. But the point is that he's still one of the best center fielders in baseball. As long as he's on the field, I think, like with Machado, if he's a problem, then everything's just broken.
Dan Zaborski, Fangraphs with us right now on John and Jim. Xander Bogaerts has had a better month. It's been a really tough 3 years, as you know, in San Diego, but he has put together better at-bats, plate appearances here recently. How does where he is compare to the projections? He's just over a 700 OPS right now. I think it's 703. What can we expect for the remainder of the year from Xander?
Well, the big part of the disappointment is that his batting average has dropped in recent years. When he's not a guy who has he's not going to hit 40 home runs. He's not going to walk 100 times. So it's a pretty big deal when he's hitting 260 instead of 300. You look at his profile, and batting average is not likely to go up at this point. I think that the best case for the Padres is that he just maintains where he is, because he's not a problem, and obviously you rather get more performance for the money. But I think this is probably who he is at this point.
What do you expect Dylan Cease's market to be? Free agent coming up, down year for him for sure. Do you think that his market will be impacted at all by this season that he's had so far?
I don't think so, because one, there's no massive injury concern. It's not like he's gonna had a dreaded flexor strain that makes everyone suspicious of Tommy John surgery. You look at his ERA and it's high, but you look at his peripheral numbers, his FIP, his Statcast derived data. It's all pretty good, and teams do look at those things. I mean, his strikeout rate is actually better than it was last year. The big problem is his batting average on balls in play is 330, but that tends to be a really volatile number for pitchers. That tends to come down. Defense is a huge part of that for any pitcher. So I think he's going to have a pretty vigorous market this offseason. If the Padres are hoping to retain him at a discount, I think they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think most Padres fans feel that same way. What about Michael King, who's missed a lot of time here? Assuming he returns and looks like Michael King, the market remains extremely high on King as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that mutual option, which I don't know is going to be a thing, but I think for him, it's going to depend on what that shoulder looks like, because everyone's going to be afraid of a pitcher coming off a shoulder injury going into a spring trade, depending on how long it lingers, if there are any negative effects when he comes back velocity-wise. It would be nice for the Padres, and I don't know if they can, based on their financial situation, which has kind of had some extra annoyances that most teams don't have to face. But it would be nice to have one of those guys signed before the offseason to extension, because when you have two of the top pitchers in free agency departing, you're probably going to lose at least one of them. And that's a pretty big loss. And I don't think the Padres can absorb that from within very easily.
A significant loss. Of course, Joe Musgrove would be coming off Tommy John, and Yu Darvish is about 40 years of age, under contract as well. Dan, we appreciate you taking time for us as always here in San Diego. We'll do it again, hopefully at some point soon. And thanks for joining.
Always fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, great stuff. Dan Szymborski, Fangraphs. We'll react to that.
I was going to say that whatever team Michael King goes to, he's going to need a special bed that's put in his contract, like a special clause, like, hey, everywhere that we go on the road, I need a special bed because I cannot sleep wrong again.
No, he can't. No, and for his team's sake, he can't miss 2 months because he slept on the wrong side of the bed. All right, we're going to react to our conversation with Dan Szymborski. The wrap coming up at 4 p.m. We are here until 6. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now and keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. We do have a giveaway, Jim, in the 4 o'clock hour.
Oh, givey.
A givey. Britt Floyd, Alan Parsons. This is coming up in about a week at the Cal Coast Credit Open Air Theater, July 12th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. So we've got a givey.
A givey.
If you missed Dan Zimborski, you'll hear a conversation from Fangraphs coming up at 5:30. For whatever reason, now I want to say from Fanatics. Dan Zimborski from Fanatics Fest. We'll break down the collectibles. Yeah. But if you missed that, you'll hear it coming up at 5:30. We also have the wrap ahead.
Give me a card that's going to be on the rise here in the next couple of months.
Dan.
What's the projections for
the Bryce Harper market?
Yeah, can you tell me the projections for that? Like the percent chance that thing goes up. What's its market looking like nowadays?
I'm trying to think what he just told us, Dan Zimborski. That would be my primary takeaway. Oh, he said they get no production out of DH, which we know.
Mm-hmm.
He says that they need upgraded production out of left. It's not Gavin Sheets. It's just, is Gavin Sheets going to be there every day in the second half of the year?
My biggest takeaway from him was him saying that as far as their projections go as a team, win-loss record going into the season, they're about right where they are projected to be. They're not, playing worse. They're not playing better. They're kind of right where everybody, as far as when it comes to projections go, where they thought that Padres would be this year.
Yeah,
so
that is interesting.
So the outrage, and I get it, the fire everybody and this team sucks. They're kind of right where they are expected to be.
Yeah, like when the projections say you're going to win 87 games and you're pacing to win 88 games, you can't be like, everything's going haywire. What's wrong with this team?
Right.
I mean, this is who they were. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, you can be frustrated with individual games and how they play, but if you're looking at the overall team record and where they are overall right now, they're right where you would expect them to be. And as you mentioned earlier in the show, look at the teams around them. A lot of them are falling off, and they've been way worse than the Padres the last couple of weeks.
And if you're like, well, they were supposed to win 100 games. Well, you felt that way for a second when they were 14-3. You said, oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that, again, projections take into account 162, not 17. And by the way, the Padres never project to win 100 games. In our entire time covering this team, when did you ever go into a season where like, well, we were supposed to win 100. They only won 80. They're never supposed to win 100 games. They've never won more than 98. Their second most isn't even 97. It's 93 last year. So you can't go into the year being like, hey, we're going to win 100 games. We're definitely the best team in the NL West. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So, trying to talk people off the ledge the last couple of days, and I'm probably the last person you'd expect that from.
Yeah, you're the ledge talker offer somehow.
How
did that happen?
But it's true. Yeah, you can look at it both ways. They have been incredibly frustrating to watch the last 2 months, but they're still right where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they don't fall off a cliff, they're in a good position. As long as they don't lose 12 of 15, which you've seen a lot of teams in baseball do that recently. The Giants, the Mets, the Yankees. Those are just a couple to name. If you don't do that, you'll be fine. And navigating August will be their toughest test.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. And the counter to that is maybe they're capable of having another stretch where they go 10-3. Because
that's all it takes to really separate yourself.
I mean, again, I don't know if they'll win or lose the nightcap here today, but if they were to win it, then you get home for 10 and you've won your last couple of games. And you said 6-4, but even if it was 7-3, I mean, even 6-4 with 2 wins in Philadelphia is 8-4 in your last 12. That would be really encouraging.
So the high water mark was 14-3, right? Or what was that?
No, they got to 12 over. They were 11 over then. They were as high as 12 over this year.
So they were 15 and what was their best?
I mean, the best winning percentage this year was 14-3. But the most games over 500 this year was 12. Like I'm making up like 22-10.
Okay. But I was going to say the best stretch was 14-3.
Mm-hmm.
You add a 10-3 stretch in there.
Yeah.
It's 24-6
over those stretches.
You play 500 the rest of the way.
Or at least
in the postseason.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for and waiting for is when's that stretch. If that stretch is going to come, when's it going to come? And as long as they're just kind of hanging around, that's what matters. Are they frustrating to watch on a daily basis? Yeah, they are, because they're so up and down from game to game. They're not consistent. But winning today in game 1, that's great. You win game 2 here, it's hard to take a doubleheader. 3-3 road trip, that's exactly what we were talking about they needed last, Friday before game 1 in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Give me a 3-3 road trip. Go 6-4 at home.
I mean, maybe it would be, and maybe it is deja vu all over again if that happens. Because last year it was the Phillies road series that turned their season around. Winning that game behind Matt Waldron was a big moment in their season. We don't know if that would be the case today or not. But if they take 2 in Philadelphia today, considering what we saw the other day when they were shut out 4-0, and were just completely paltry in that game, and they were 1-3 on the road trip. If they do take 2, maybe that's what they need. Maybe that would be a quote unquote turning point. Easier said than done. Can't guarantee it. But if you win 2 in Philly, we might look back and say it was an important doubleheader sweep if they do that.
You could.
Potentially.
They're better now than they were last year.
Right. Oh, yeah. Better off. Yeah, better off. Yeah.
Not like all the other numbers that went into the things, right? Yep. Just record-wise alone. I don't want to dive too deep into, this player is doing this. I mean, Manny's way better this year than he was last year. He's going to make the All-Star team.
Yeah, we're going to get, by the way, that team's going to be unveiled at some point, I think in the next 10 or 20 minutes. So we'll bring that to you once we have it. Manny Machado trying to start for the National League. Interesting note, by the way, you probably saw this. I put it on social media. The Phillies and the Padres played a doubleheader 32 years ago today.
I saw that.
That was the longest day in the history of Major League Baseball. It was 12 hours. They started at 4:44 p.m. and ended at 4:41 a.m. They started game 2 at 1:23 in the morning because they had to get the game in. And it was, I think, August of 1993. So this is the anniversary of that. It just happens to also be on July 2nd. You have a doubleheader in Philadelphia. This shouldn't be I hear famous last words. This shouldn't be a 12-hour doubleheader.
Well, the way the game is now, it prevents that from happening.
They would never start
with the ghost runner, the pitch clock.
100%.
Never going to happen.
But now we have split doubleheaders, Jim.
Oh, man,
it was
those
just a
are
true
awful.
doubleheader.
Ban the split doubleheader. We're kidding.
We're kidding. Ben Fadden went on some rant about it, but I don't even want to get into it.
I just thought of this. In the new Rob Manfred baseball era with the ghost runner and the pitch clock.
Mm-hmm. What's the longest game since?
What is the longest game?
I love that.
Not in time-wise, but innings-wise.
I doubt a game's going more than 14.
Because we've covered games here before the pitch clock and before the ghost runner. Remember that Dodger game we were here for? That we were just started doing the wrap-up show. That thing went like 15 innings.
That's when they lost their DH.
Yeah.
Or they had to bat a pitcher for like 3 straight turns through the lineup, remember? Because they screwed up the double switch.
Yeah, because Jay Singer didn't know how to manage.
Yeah. That was the game that they basically lost. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember Joe Musgrove said, "What are we doing? This guy doesn't know how to manage."
Longest game since Ghost Runner. Okay. I'm so curious now.
Right. I'm gonna say 14 innings. Because it's really hard to go past that. 15?
There's a Reddit post 3 months ago, including today, 25 games have gone at least 13 innings since Ghost Runner in 2020. So, yeah, it's a fair point. I don't know how many have gone more than 14. I agree. I don't think it's more than 14. If it is, it's 15. But, like, the days of the 18-inning game,
thankfully are gone.
They were the absolute worst, dude.
I remember covering a game that went 17 innings at Petco Park. Dude, I'm like, what am I doing here?
You know the Pawtucket game, right? In AAA? How long was that? 33 innings. Dude. That was stopped after 31 and then picked up like months later. They stopped it at 4:07 in the morning after 32 innings, and then the game wrapped up in the 33rd.
Yeah, the other day, just because it was embedded in my mind, the Adolis Garcia 3-run homer to tie it up in the bottom of the 10th.
Right, or 11.
That went 11.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last Padres game to go 11, to your point? You're right. Everything's decided in 10 innings. They've had some 11-inning games.
Yeah, a couple. It's just so much easier now. And I know that people, a lot of, baseball purists don't like the Ghost Runner, but
I don't mind it.
I'd rather have these games end than go 5.5 hours.
As someone that covers it like we do, and we do all those shows at night, it's made our lives a lot better.
Yeah. It really has.
I don't know about everyone else's, but it's made our lives a lot better.
I just think that speeding up the game, the pitch clock, the ghost runner, it's not implemented in the postseason, so you don't have to worry about it. And everything's better for it. Everything's better off.
I agree. All right. We're going to get to the wrap on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Hour 3 of John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app is next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres Phillies game 2 of their 2-game doubleheader today. That was stupid. It's supposed to a 1-game doubleheader. Padres are leading the second game 1-0 heading in the bottom of the fourth inning. Padres took game 1 6-4. They have an off day tomorrow before returning for a 10-game homestand to finish up the first half. All-star starters are about to be announced here. Manny Machado is up to be the all-star starter at third base, so we'll find that out coming up momentarily. In NBA news of the day, Mike Brown is officially hired as the new Knicks head coach, and DeAndre Ayton is expected to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's John and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of our 4-hour John and Jim, or whatever Jim just said.
I don't know what I said.
They're playing
the
game 2 of their 2-game doubleheader, but every doubleheader is 2 games.
The second game of the doubleheader.
It's all good. 1-0 Padres, like you said. We're waiting on all-star starters to be unveiled.
Yeah.
I think there's an expectation Manny will be a starter. It is not a guarantee. So that's the one thing we're waiting on. We should have an answer on that within a few minutes, would be my guess, at some point here in the next handful of minutes.
Well, they're going to drag this thing out because they got an hour to fill.
And we'll be here for 2 hours. We got 2 hours.
We're not going anywhere, guys.
All right. So we'll get you that when we have it. We'll see if the Padres can sweep a doubleheader in Philadelphia. They've got that 1-0 lead. And right now, what do you got?
Sweep a 2-game doubleheader?
Yes, it's a 2-game doubleheader. That's right.
You guys jinxed them. They're going to go into extra, so it's going to be like 3 games.
A 3-game doubleheader. All right, let's get to it.
Please don't say that.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Will either LeBron or Steph Curry win another NBA title?
No, I don't think so. Lakers signing DeAndre Ayton today. That team's going to be a mess. They are just praying that DeAndre Ayton not only stays healthy, but actually performs. They lost Dorian Finney-Smith, a really good wing defender for him. The Warriors are like an AARP team because they're like on the verge of signing Al Horford. I mean, the average age of that team is going to be 37 years old. And they're also thinking of maybe signing Damian Lillard coming off of a torn Achilles.
He's going to have a big year.
No, neither team will win an NBA championship. Not especially with what the Rockets have done. The Thunder's not going anywhere. The Denver Nuggets retooled. Not happening.
But are you saying if for the rest of the career? Because I get it. This year, okay, but LeBron, let's say he has 2 years. Let's say Steph has 3+ years still left. Are you basing that on 25, 26? Or are you just reading the tea leaves of the next couple of years? It's not going to get easier.
Next couple of years, not happening.
All right. Well, I agree with you. In fact, I'd be impressed if either played in a Western Conference championship at some point in the remainder of their career. That would impress me.
I hope this isn't the case, but this might have been the best last chance for Steph to do that this year.
I know they were fairly well positioned.
I think they were going to beat the T-Wolves.
They were up 1-0, right?
They won game 1. That was mostly without Steph, and they got the big lead with Steph.
I know.
I just think they had a really good shot against the T-Wolves if Steph stayed healthy. Now, they were not going to beat the Thunder, but they had a good shot against the T-Wolves.
Next question.
They'll both win in 2 years when they're with the Knicks.
Next question.
Would you guys prefer Tatis at leadoff or cleanup?
I like him at leadoff just because historically he's been better there, and his on-base percentage is really good this year. I'll say keep him in the leadoff spot.
I say I prefer wherever he hits. Like there's all this.
So 8th?
Here's the thing. They lead 1-0 thanks to Tatis. And that is true that he's got speed. Like that is one of his tools that is really beneficial. Reaches on infield single, can steal second base, causes an errant throw. Like that is part of Tatis's game, but so is his power. Like what do you prefer more out of Tatis? The skill utilized most, his speed or his power? I prefer his power. So I'm okay with either spot. I just want to see him hit. I'm not opposed to leadoff. I'm not opposed to cleanup. I just want to see him hit.
Before Brent gets to our next question, we have breaking news.
Is it related to Manny?
It is. So the all-star starters are being announced as we speak. In the National League, at first base, Freddie Freeman's your All-Star Game starter. At second base, Ketel Marte. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Third base, your All-Star starter is Manny Machado. No. Manny Machado is this year's All-Star starter in the National League at third base. Very well deserved. Yep. Thank goodness it's not Max Muncy, because that conversation would not have been fun to have, especially with all the Dodger trolls out there. So, yeah, Manny Machado is the starter in the National League at third base.
827 OPS, 13 home runs, 50 RBIs with his 3 runs batted in earlier today. He's even stolen 8 bases. He's just put together a really good season. I think it's his 6th trip to the All-Star game in his career.
7th?
Is it his 7th?
I'm going to say 7th.
Yeah, you're right. I think we looked at that at some point. I think you might be right. He has been there 7 times, including 2025. So on his way to maybe 10 All-Star appearances in his career. He's gotten there 7 times by the age of 32. Impressive feat by Manny Machado. Next question.
Is Mike Brown a good hire by the Knicks?
Doesn't this feel kind of like oh crap, nobody that we wanted is going to be our head coach, so we need to just go get someone that's kind of experienced. Oh, Mike Brown's out there. Go get Mike Brown.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Mike Brown. He's a good head coach, but this was not the Knicks' number 1 choice. The Knicks' number 1 choice was Jason Kidd.
And then they had like 6 others.
They were their 5th choice.
Or who's the head coach for the Rockets?
Oh yeah, who used to be with the Celtics? What's his name? Duco.
It's on the tip of my tongue, dude.
Right.
You're gonna say it.
Houston Rockets head coach.
Yeah. No.
M.A. Udoka.
M.A. Udoka. That is Udoka. Yeah. That him and Jason Kidd were like their 2 top choices, and they just swung and missed. And they didn't even get the opportunity to interview them because the Rockets and the Mavericks were like, "What are you doing?" No.
It was a long way of just saying you could have just kept Tom Thibodeau. It's the same thing. Just keep Tom Thibodeau. Nothing has changed. They get a veteran head coach for a veteran head coach. They're in a similar spot. It was just a long circle. Time is a flat circle.
Correct.
For the Knicks.
It reminded me a lot of the Cowboys. They fired their head coach without a backup plan, right. And then they had nobody, and they're like,
Schottenheimer?
Just hire him because he's available, I guess.
Right. Next question.
Does DeAndre Ayton make the Lakers a title contender?
What title?
Division title?
Like division titles? Are those the thing in the NBA still?
Yeah,
those things went out the window. Why even have divisions in the NBA anymore? That makes no sense.
They do, right? Because one time you told me that, and I'm like, I don't believe you. That's what the division is called. Like, it is called that.
The Pacific Division.
What are the divisions in the NBA right now?
Pacific, Northwest, Southwest? I have no clue, dude. All I know is there's a Pacific.
Didn't we mention an NHL division once? And I'm like, there's no way you're right. It was like the Metropolitan. Remember? Someone look up these divisions.
Metropolitan.
There's a Metropolitan division in the NHL or in the NBA.
Well,
what's the question?
Does DeAndre Ayton make the Lakers a title contender?
Is it a big 3 again, would you say?
They do have the number 1 and number 3 picks in the NBA draft in 2018 on their team, in Luka and DeAndre Ayton.
Ayton looks older.
He's the I'm 12 guy that looks like he's 43.
I mean, it fills the need, right? Seriously, because they didn't have this in the second half of the year.
They needed a center, but I don't know if DeAndre Ayton is that guy.
Gotcha.
Because to me, he's a lob threat, but can he stay healthy? Can he go out there and can he defensively help the Lakers enough too? I don't know about that. Now he's put up some good numbers in his career, but still.
Do you think they did it because LeBron was like, "Yo, you do something or I'm out"? Like, is Ayton the type of move that LeBron was looking for? Because what else could they do? They're not trading for Giannis.
No,
so what are they reasonably going to do this offseason? This probably would have been it. Yeah, get a veteran center.
Last year, he only played 40 games.
Interesting.
For
what were his numbers?
Portland, 40 games. He averaged 14 points and 10 rebounds.
Okay.
His career numbers
solid.
He averages 16 and 10.
Yeah, really solid.
And I don't know, dude. DeAndre Ayton, is he the game changer that they need?
He's just a piece.
They needed a center for sure.
Right. And it was never gonna be Shaq. So it's like this is the best they could do.
Right. We'll see.
I mean, of course, they're not a title contender. You've run through the Western Conference favorites are legitimate favorites. Like when you talk about Oklahoma City and Houston and maybe Dallas, like there's got to be a drop off in there, folks. It's not like the Lakers are 1A to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're not. They're not 1B to the Houston Rockets. I mean, maybe they're the 4th or 5th or 6th best team in the West, but they're not one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the West.
I think it's a case they're just desperate for a big man. I laughed during the draft when they're like speculating who the Lakers are going to take. They're like, oh, they need a big man between the height of 6'8" and 7'3". And it's just like, oh, really? That's quite the range there that you want for someone else. Oh, and your divisions in the West,
Yes, let me hear it.
It's the Northwest, the Pacific, and the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the East, it's the Atlantic, the Central, and the Southeast.
But nobody knows who wins the divisions, right?
Well,
Nor
they do.
does
They
anybody
just don't
care.
celebrate it anymore.
Right. And by the way, real quick, the divisions in hockey are the Atlantic, the Metropolitan, the Central, and the Pacific. Do we want to have a Dylan Cease conversation?
Not yet.
No, I mean the conversation just being that he allowed a 2-run home run. Phillies are leading the Padres. It is early, 2-1 in the 4th inning. The other conversation we had.
What is what's different about the conversation with Dylan Cease? Is my
That's
question.
the big problem. That's the big problem. This continues to be the story. That's a big problem.
It's not changing. He is wildly inconsistent this year. He can blow up at any moment. He has become incredibly frustrating to watch at times. He can look dominant, and then he can just fall off a cliff. Who does that remind you of?
Don't tell me you're going to tell me it's Blake Snell.
Well, we've said he's the right-handed Blake Snell for how long?
You know what, though? I mean, tell me this.
Maybe he's I would say he's better. He's not as frustrating to watch.
Is he better? Blake Snell's got 2 Cy Youngs.
That's
How many
true.
still does Cease have? That's the crazy thing. I'm with you. I'd prefer to watch Cease than Snell. I would.
Yeah.
But isn't it funny that like Snell's the one with the 2 Cy Youngs? I mean, Cease, you're right. Snell will have a bad year. He'll have a good year. Cease will have a bad year. He'll have a good year. That is the similarities. I feel like Cease is the better pitcher. Like I would prefer to watch Dylan Cease. I really would. But then again, I think Snell's had even the higher upside than Cease in his career. But I do prefer to watch Dylan Cease. But what is going on? I mean, is Dylan Cease just going to have like a wasted year heading into free agency? He's going to have a 4.70 ERA and then become a free agent. That's the year he's going to put up. Just stay healthy. 33 stars. He had a 4.75, 1.5 whip.
If this team does make the postseason, that's a long ways from now. How much faith would you have in Dylan Cease? Because me personally, not a lot.
I mean, remember last year in the postseason?
It was
oh
awful.
my,
he was awful.
And if you look at his career numbers, they're not good in the postseason at all.
That just means that every night this team is just praying that Michael King can somehow get back and be the same Michael King that he was earlier this year and last year.
I like Dylan Cease. Like I do. I like what he's like. I do. It's not personal. I really do like Dylan Cease. I thought he was terrific last year. There were stretches last year. He was as good as it gets in baseball. We haven't yet seen that stretch here in 2025. Maybe he does it at some point, but we say that every time he pitches. And it's not like today was going to be easy, I guess. It is on the road against the Phillies and this lineup. But right now, again, it hasn't been the worst outing of his career, but 2-1 Phillies right now, still playing in the bottom of the 4th inning. We'll react to Manny Machado getting named to another All-Star team, the 7th of his career. We've got a ticket giveaway for you this hour as well. That'll be for Britt Floyd and Alan Parsons. If you missed Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs, you'll hear that coming up at 5:30. John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, coming up this hour, you've got a chance to win tickets to see Britt Floyd, Alan Parsons, Cal Coast Credit, Open Air Theater, July 12th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. If you missed Dan Zimborski, you'll hear a conversation with Dan, who's over at Fangraphs. Great resource with the analytics in baseball. You'll hear that coming up at 5:30. We're reacting to Manny Machado being named an all-star starter, deservingly so, and he will go for a 7th time, this time to Atlanta, coming up in a couple of weeks. So Machado, a starter, reserves and pitchers announced on Sunday.
He also announced that he will play for the Dominican Republic team in the World Baseball Classic.
I did see that.
Xander Bogaerts will play for Team Netherlands again. Did Jackson Merrill say that he's going to play for Team USA? Or was
Not
he
that
invited?
I'm aware of.
Is there anybody?
He should be.
Is there anybody else on the Padres besides Xander and Manny that you've seen commit to playing for the World Baseball Classic?
Have we heard from Toddy?
That's the other name. I don't know. Well,
I don't know either. Was he healthy or eligible or something in 2023?
He's pitching sim games for the World Baseball Classic.
You Darvish. He was there last time.
Team
There's
Japan.
no way you Darvish will be doing it.
No. He'll be there with the team probably, but he won't be playing, right?
Tatis wasn't eligible for it, right? In 2023?
No.
Because the suspension.
Suspension, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see Tatis in it. Just in my head.
But so far, really good year for Manny Machado. He became a father. He is going to play for the Dominican Republic team again, and he's the starter in the All-Star game at third base, the National League. I mean,
he's had an awesome year.
So after his year last year, where his second half was incredible, first half was awful.
Yep.
Then he had the surgery for the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
That was before last year, right?
Yeah, it was to start the offseason. Remember he played through September. We were critical. I was critical. I know. Like, what are you doing? Like, you could start this elbow surgery process earlier. And it turned out that he wasn't 100% healthy. That's what the doctors told him. And he finally got going in the second half of the year.
They said it's an injury that it takes about a year.
Yeah. And he really got going.
And he gutted his way through it.
Yeah.
And then this year he looks healthy. He's obviously playing great baseball and absolutely, deserves to be the National League starter at third base. I was going to lose my mind if it was going to be Max Muncy over Manny Machado.
I would have too, but I didn't expect it.
In no world should if they have, look at the numbers. In no world should Max Muncy have been starting over Manny Machado, and thank goodness he's not.
No, I completely agree with you. And here's the thing, like what Dan Zimborski told us earlier, and again, you'll hear it coming up in an hour. He's like, Manny's at the point in his career. This is crazy when he put it this way. He's like, Manny could stop playing, and he's a voter. He's like, I'd probably vote for Cooperstown. He's not stopping, by the way. He's 32. He's under contract for forever.
He went down a dark path, though.
Well, yeah, he
got hit by a bus. I'm like, whoa,
relax. But I mean, it does prove the point that he's like he's a rare breed of guys that might hit 500 home runs, might have 3,000 hits. Like, this is getting rare and rare and rare. Now, I would say at the end of the day, he'd probably trade a lot of it to go win a World Series. I think ultimately that's a big part of the story here locally with Manny Machado. I do think it's part of his career as well. And he's got chances, hopefully, still to do that. But how many more, we don't know. But it's been an awesome year. It's been an awesome year.
Well, what you can say is when you watch the Padres and you watch Manny Machado, you're watching a future Hall of Famer.
Yes.
In his theoretical prime.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of felt that way for a long time, that ultimately he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's now becoming more clear and clear by the game.
And let me just emphasize this. Even though he is a Hall of Fame player, he's still not above criticism. Just like everybody, like if they go to the postseason and he has a bad postseason again, guess what? We're going to talk about it.
Of course.
We can't just hide behind the fact that the dude's a Hall of Famer or going to be a Hall of Famer and then just he's never criticized or talked about if he's slumping ever again. That's where it just irks me, especially a guy that hasn't won a World Series, hasn't won an MVP. If he was like a 2-time MVP winner and he's won a World Series in his career, okay.
Then it's kind of above.
You're not criticizing. The guy's proven it all.
Yeah,
he's done everything.
Wasn't Pujols criticized in Anaheim? No, different. But is he not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
He was criticized in Anaheim because he got all that money and didn't perform to the money.
And isn't he ultimately, but to your point, a first ballot Hall of Famer? As in, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but if Pujols lived up to that contract, put up all these numbers, and they still were an awful baseball team and didn't make the postseason, Are you going to criticize him? Or did they criticize him because the numbers he put up were nowhere close to what he did in St. Louis?
I'm just proving the point because you made the point that just because he's a Hall of Famer doesn't mean he can't be criticized.
Yes.
So that's Pujols, right?
Different
because Pujols didn't hit. I get it.
Because
didn't hit in the
Manny's
second
put
half
up the numbers, and he's
right. I get it. No, I'm saying, of course, you can criticize Hall of Famers because there's going to be periods of time where, they're still going to have to prove people. I mean, Mike Trout's been criticized,
and also Pujols, if he remained on the Cardinals, are you getting criticism from Cardinals fans about Albert Pujols?
My guess is yes,
but because
like 10 down years.
Well, he changed teams and he didn't accomplish anything in Anaheim.
Right, he did everything with
so
St.
it's
Louis.
Completely different.
And no, it is completely different. I'm just saying Hall of Famers can be criticized. That's a factual statement.
Like if Steph or LeBron, well, I'll just use Steph because he's been on one team his entire career. If Steph left tomorrow and he went to the New York Knicks, and then with the New York Knicks, he, they don't win a championship or they, continuously get knocked out in the first round. And is Steph going to get criticized by Knicks fans? Of course he is.
Yeah, by Knicks fans. I mean, here's the thing. Pujols, 2-time champion. Yeah, his career is so different than Manny Machado. Both of them at the end of the day are going to end up in Cooperstown. All right, we're going to hear from, who are we going to hear from? We're going to hear from Sam Presti, the GM of the Oklahoma City Thunder, on the injuries in the NBA this year and in the postseason. Also, coming up at 5:30, again, we're going to hear from Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs. And this hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Britt Floyd and Alan Parsons at the Cal Coast Credit Open Air Theater. We'll hear from Sam Presti on NBA injuries that were piling up in 2025. That's next on John and Jim. San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. All right. Are you maxed out on credit cards or struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, guys, it is Schaefer. Get cash out now without touching your low rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. It's the Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto. It's truly amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. A huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity, it's yours. You can use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Call now to start the conversation. Here's the number, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Get debt relief now at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This update is brought to you by Indeed.com. We'll start with the Padres, game 2 of their doubleheader. Phillies lead them 3-1 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Padres won game 1 today, 6-4. They have an off day tomorrow before they return home for a 10-game homestand to finish up their first half. SDFC news, Anders Dreyer has been named the Player of the Month in Major League Soccer. Tonight at 6 p.m., SDFC Midweek Live, 1 full hour of SDFC talk with Darren and Adrian Garcia Marquez. And NBA news of the day, the Knicks, they hired Mike Brown to be their next head coach. And the Lakers are going to sign DeAndre Ayton to be their center for the upcoming season. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
Dylan Cease, you want to take a stab at this, Jim? How many home runs did Dylan Cease allowed this year? How many home runs did Dylan Cease allow last year?
Good question.
Fun game, right?
I'll go this year. He's allowed 13.
Ding.
Really?
Yeah. I know you didn't know.
I did not know.
I know.
Last year he allowed 21.
18 and double the innings.
Ooh.
So he's on pace to allow, if the innings hold, 25 plus home runs. He allowed 18 last year. Again, you don't need me to tell you, Padres fans, that he struggled. I mean, there's a zillion ways to paint it. Walks and hits over innings, his whip, just everything. Batting average on balls in play, Dan Zimborski talked about. Batting average on balls in play against Dylan Cease this year is over 330.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's not good. He's allowing a lot of hard contact, just a lot of contact in general.
Yeah. He's just not having a good year.
Right, exactly.
It's just simple as that.
Simple as that.
Look, if you want to break down all of his advanced stats, guess what? I got 2 eyes, and I watch this guy every time he's pitching for the Padres, and it's not good. At least compared to last year, it's not good.
Yeah, it isn't like wheels fell off Sandy Alcantara, 70
It's like
ERA
a
year, where it's like
ERA,
a disaster.
what is happening?
He's given him chances to win. He's also had some outings which haven't been nearly as good.
But he's only
facing a good team tonight, but you're asking for that 7-inning, 1-run performance a lot. And we've seen it like 1 time this year.
Yeah. How many times this year has he
allowed 1 or fewer runs?
Yeah. 1 or fewer runs. I want to say it's like no more than 2 or 3.
It can't be. It cannot be.
We've
It's
done
the
this
Dodger
before.
game at home.
We've done this before.
Give me an outing in which you went 6 or more innings, 1 run or less.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that fair?
6 innings or more and 1 run or less.
Right.
Okay. He's done it 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year.
Has he really? That actually surprises me. 6 or more innings, 1 or fewer runs, 4 times.
That's because a lot of you see outings like, today it's 3 earned runs, 4 innings pitched so far. His last start, 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. June 16th, 5 innings, 6 earned runs. June 5th, 5 innings, 3 earned runs. A lot of 3 earned run games, like 4 2/3 on May 31st, 3 earned runs, 5 innings, 3 runs. Yeah, he's not. You don't have the like blow up games for Dylan Cease this year. I mean, if you're looking really, there's been only 2 blow up games for Dylan Cease.
I'm reminded of a game at Dodger Stadium about 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Dodger Stadium, 5 innings, 6 earned runs.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And then earlier in the year,
the Oakland game.
April 8th, the Oakland
Sacramento.
game, 9 earned runs in 4 innings. It was a disaster.
That was a disaster.
He's throwing the ball like the backstopper. Like, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
But other than that, he's not having blow up outings. They're just like blah. 5 innings, 3 runs, 4 innings, 2 runs, 6 innings, 3 runs. I know those are considered 6 innings, 3 runs a quality start. Shouldn't be, but 6 innings, 3 runs, it's a 4.5 ERA. And guess what his ERA is right now, John?
What?
4.53.
Let me ask you this. What would have surprised you more if I told you that Fernando Tatis Jr. after April would struggle like this, or Dylan Cease coming off last year would struggle like this?
What would surprise me more?
Yeah, what would have surprised you more in the moment?
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Me too, because there was a period of time where he was, it was this year, and he looked so good.
Dylan Cease has a track record of up and down, up and down.
That's a good point.
Fernando Tatis Jr.,
Also, it's a bit of an up and down track record in there, but
you're just kind of waiting and feel like, all right, this is going to be the year where he just explodes again.
Mm-hmm.
And the first month, you're like, all right, this is the year. 42 home runs, might pass that. 40, home runs, 30 stolen bases. Guy's going to finally have an OPS back in the 900s, play Gold Glove defense, be healthy. This is great. And then he just fell off a cliff offensively. And you're like, who is this guy?
Right. Yeah, I agree. All right. So we spent a lot of time over the last 2 months talking about injuries in the NBA, right? With all the Achilles.
It's kind of the story.
The story, man. You're 100% right. I mean, it was the story. You think about some of these massive injuries, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, Dame Lillard, and others. Let's hear from the Oklahoma City GM, Sam Presti, on the amount of injuries in the NBA.
Injuries across the league. Yeah, I mean, I just think there's certainly something to be learned from the injuries. I think it's a couple years in a row now that we've been in the postseason and the best players on certain teams aren't playing for, I think the one thing we have to do is get away from the defensive nature of trying to convince people, players, and teams that there's no connection between the loads and the injuries. I think we're kind of bordering on like a level of like, it's almost insulting, it doesn't mean it's anyone's fault. It doesn't mean we don't want our best players playing every single night. It's not a matter of players not wanting to play or being soft or anything like that. But I don't think we should be putting our head in the sand and acting as if there's no correlation. The reason why is because if we're pointing to data, the data is from 20 years ago or 10 years ago. The game is totally different sport than it was even several years ago because of the amount of possessions, the way the offenses work now. It's not people standing around the 3-point line, waiting for double teams and then the ball to get kicked out. There's so much movement on every possession. We're playing almost like 2 games compared to 10 years ago and how involved the bodies are. Then you take into consideration the fact that everyone's trying to play as much as possible because of the 65 game rule. Then you take into consideration that the back half of the schedule is more condensed than it has been in the last 10 years because the in-season tournament cannot have back-to-back games on those days. So you've got much less flexibility in the schedule, a game that's like really redlining compared to past seasons in terms of the overall movement and torque on your body, the uptick in physicality, right, that we have, because that's where we want the game to go. And it's a good thing. That's a good thing. But then you go right into the postseason and those games are even more physical. So it's not a guys don't want to play thing. I think it's more, we want the guys to be able to play thing and putting our heads together and be rational about it and not defensive, trying to produce numbers and data that indicates that the more you play, the more healthy you are. It's probably somewhere in between. And I think we have to have respect for the players on that to try to understand what's going on with it.
Man, he could not have said that any better.
He should be a GM.
Oh, he is. He's one of the best in the league.
You're not. He said it perfectly. I mean, we've beaten around this for weeks on end and theorized on it, and he actually knows it because he's living it. And everything he said, it's impossible to really poke holes in the argument he made.
Well, it's a clear shot at Adam Silver.
Yeah, because Silver has been like, well, we're going to take a look at AI, but there's no direct correlation.
No, it's BS, dude. There is direct correlation. And these things are happening at a highest clip that it could possibly happen at compared to years past, because as Sam Presti said there, the game has completely changed. Mm-hmm. The condensed schedule at the end, the amount of playoff games, like the second round was ridiculous how it was one off day in between every game and they had to travel and then play a game. It's just Adam Silver, when it comes to the injuries that have happened in the league, and the scheduling and the stupid in-season tournament and the dumb play-in tournament, is turning a blind eye because of money.
Well, but the funny thing is, I'm with you on the money. The big losers are the rights holders to the NBA. Why on earth would ESPN not want Jason Tatum playing in the games that it's televising, or Tyrese Halliburton, for example? And then secondly, you're hurting the fans. The fans would prefer to watch Boston against New York with the teams healthy. The fans would prefer to have an NBA Finals where Tyrese Halliburton, now he was relatively healthy, but you get my point. I mean, he didn't miss the whole series.
No.
But the fans would prefer, I go back to that Raptors Golden State NBA Finals. The fans would prefer the teams to be at full strength. You want to know
preferred that,
but you want to know a true champion.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see a war of attrition. You want to see a true champion. There's a difference.
Yeah, I just love Sam Presti.
Yeah, he said it really well.
He 100% was taking a shot at Adam Silver. How what he said to Malika Andrews on the NBA draft night in the first round was completely insulting to everything that has been going on as far as injuries go in the NBA, turning a blind eye, not fully addressing it, saying that, oh, these things happen. It's just the way sports works. Why don't you realize that the reason why these things are happening is because you as a league have made it like more possible, and the likelihood of injuries have gone way up because of how you have structured the schedule.
Like they're almost like it's because they're responsible for it. They could do things to potentially prevent these injuries from popping up with this regularity.
I don't remember a time, and we've watched the NBA forever.
Long time, yeah. Not like this
many Achilles injuries happening in a one postseason. Never. Guys get injuries, pull hammy. Okay, that always, like, I get it, right? Other injuries happen, but specifically the Achilles injury to happen as much as it happened this year.
It's overuse.
It's way overuse.
Yep.
And Sam Presti is 100% right. It's insulting that Adam Silver thinks that they aren't a reason why these things are happening. The league, not Adam Silver, but the league in specific, the league in general. They're a reason why, and they have to look at it. And if they don't, these things are still going to continue to happen. And it's their fault. It's the league's fault.
They're complaining about the scheduling. Let's get rid of the stupid in-season tournament that the fans don't care about and they're not going to miss it. And then get rid of the stupid play-in tournament, which also the fans don't care about and they're not going to miss it. And then you can make it a normal schedule instead of having to have that condensed schedule because you're trying to squeeze in all these things that the fans don't actually care about.
I'm becoming more of a proponent for 5-game series until the conference finals, maybe, and give them, you know what? I like watching the basketball. Monday night, I get Warriors, T-Wolves. Tuesday night, I get Rockets, Thunder. But to be honest, you should give them more than one day off between games, especially with travel.
Yeah.
Do what's right for the players in the league. And if you did the 5-game series, you don't have to stretch your season another 2 weeks because you're going from 7 to 5 for 2 of those series. So I'd be a proponent of that, I think, until the conference finals.
And the reason why there's been so much parity in Adam Silver's NBA after the Warriors, right? The Warriors, they were in the finals every year. They won 3 of 4. They were a dynasty. And then after that, how the league changed, and then they created this first and second aprons, and it's taken away like the opportunity to make super teams now. It's because Adam Silver and the league that he has created, it's not about who's the best anymore. It's about the war of attrition. And, the best teams don't always win. Now, this year, I could say Oklahoma City, they're the better team. But you know what? If the Pacers were healthy, they gave them a real run for their money, and they could have won an NBA title if Tyrese Halliburton was healthy.
I think there's a 50% chance if the Pacers were truly healthy, if they were fully healthy, I think they have a 50% chance of winning the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
But we'll never know because they weren't fully healthy. And we've said that a few times now in recent history. All right. Again, at 5:30, if you missed it earlier, Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs on the Padres at the halfway point. Really good conversation. He's at Fangraphs, great resource when it comes to analytics in baseball. You'll hear Dan Zimborski coming up at 5:30. We'll keep you updated from Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, where the Padres and Phillies are playing, plus more reaction to Manny Machado making his 7th All-Star game. Stay with us on John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, coming up in about 6 or 7 minutes, we have a ticket giveaway for you, and we'll do it in 6 or 7 minutes. It is 2 tickets to see Britt Floyd, Alan Parsons at the Calco's Credit Open Air Theater. This is July 12th, so about a week away. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. So SDFC has chimed in, Jim.
Oh, really?
Because again, minority owner of the club is Manny Machado, well publicized. Big fan as well, Manny. He's been at a number of matches, and SDFC has been pushing the vote for Manny narrative over the last handful of days and even weeks. And after Manny was named to the All-Star team as the starting third baseman for the National League, they quote tweeted it in all caps and said, "We did it, Flo fam."
Well, they started a campaign to get people to vote for Manny Machado to be the starter in the All-Star game at third base for the National League.
And that's why they tweeted it. However, the Padres have not interacted in any way with these SDFC tweets. There has not been a lot of interaction between SDFC.
They'll
and the
never,
Padres.
ever interact with them unless they make the MLS Cup.
One time, remember? There was a response.
There was
like an orange
emoji, like a hard eyes emoji.
It was something like that one time. Something like that. But yeah, there hasn't been a lot of interaction. But hey, whatever it takes to get Manny to the All-Star game, maybe that played a role.
Yeah, we know the Padres social media, they gatekeep. They don't go outside their bubble of the Padres. They keep it in house. They don't go.
No, there's not a lot
and recognize any team other than themselves in this town. That's just how they operate. No, that's how they'll always operate. You know, you're right.
Maybe it changes, but yeah,
you have the Wave and SDFC. They like to include everybody. You know, they're the 2 other major sports teams in town. Padres, they don't really do so much.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It has really hurt them.
Yeah, we've had that conversation before. You know how I feel.
Yeah, you can't deal with it. It kind of gets, I like bring it up because I know you freak out about it.
A couple things to mention with SDFC since you brought them up. They made a roster move today, John. They signed Christopher McVeigh to a contract extension through 2028.
Okay.
That's great news. And I mentioned in the update, Anders Dreyer, he was the player of the month in all
MLS.
of the league, all of MLS.
Amazing.
Anders Dreyer, player of the month. I'm not surprised. SDFC has been on a roll.
They're like the team of the month.
They swept through the 3-game road trip, picking up 9 points of 9 points, 9 total points there. It's as good as you can get. And they return home on Saturday night. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760, and hopefully they keep it going and stay at top of the Western Conference standings.
So, as we've mentioned, they have 39 points in 20 matches. Only Philadelphia has more with 40 points in 20 matches, but nobody has more points than SDFC in the West. And they are just 1 point off the most in the league with 14 matches to play in the regular season. So they have really put together a just sensational year, and that goes without saying. And it's just been amazing for an expansion franchise. We can react, by the way, to these all-star starters as well. Mm-hmm. I kind of liked what the voters did, specifically with the National League, because I was worried we'd see 6 or 7 Dodgers starters. That is not the case. There are 3, and I think it's deserved. I mean, you have Ohtani at DH. We already knew that. Freddie Freeman at first. Who's going to complain about that? Will Smith, the catchers, deserve it. The rest of the team, I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, of course. Kyle Tucker, of course, with the Cubs. Ronald Acuna Jr., the game's in Atlanta. He makes the team. He's been amazing since coming back. Lindor at short makes sense. He's had a great year. Marte for Arizona at second is a great story. So there was concern there'd be 6 or 7 Dodgers starters. There's actually only 3. And there's a couple of Cubs, and there's an Atlanta Brave, and there's Manny Machado. And I kind of like what the voters did, truthfully.
I take credit for the Pete Crow Armstrong.
Oh, you got him there. You got him there.
My mentions have died down from Cubs fans, but that was a fun time.
Do you still every once in a while get tagged?
No.
Not really anymore.
No. But hey, deserved. Pete Crow Armstrong's having an amazing season. I still like Jackson Merrill, but Pete Crow Armstrong, hey, fantastic year. Absolutely deserved.
Yeah, he's cooled off. Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why.
But
I mean, I'm just saying he's 838 OPS.
Oh, that's
265. But I'm saying, like, I think at one point he was really good. He's hitting 265.
He's still really good.
He's had a good year.
Absolutely deserved to be the starter. But you're right. I really like the National League. There's only 3 Dodgers. It's not flooded. Right. American League as well. There's three Tigers on the starting lineup.
Right.
So the 2 best teams in the National League and the American League is record wise only have 3 starters. I think that's That's perfect. And Ronald Acuna, starter in Atlanta, love it. Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Shohei, absolutely deserved. Manny, Lindor, Ketel Marte, Freeman, Will Smith. Dude, it's a great starting list for the National League and the All-Star game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And again, there were two things heading into the day where we would have lost our minds over.
Yeah.
And it actually always tied to how many Dodgers were in the All-Star game. Because if Muncy would have been over Machado, then that would have triggered that there might be 7 Dodgers starters in the All-Star game. If there would have been 6 or 7 Dodgers starters, I'd be like, listen, they've had a nice year, make no mistake, but they're not 70 and 20. They haven't earned 7 All-Star starters, and to the credit of the voters, they're not going to get 7 All-Star stars. And the Manny thing, just based on principle, nobody's putting Max Muncy in over Manny Machado. Thankfully, they didn't, because we would have spent 30 minutes yelling at clouds.
Yeah, I'm glad that there aren't 7 Dodger starters in the All-Star game.
Yeah, me too. We've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see Britt Floyd with Alan Parsons at the Cal Coast Credit Open Air Theater. This is coming up on July 12th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. If you want those tickets, be caller 3 right now. 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. Call right now. Caller 3, you are going. The number to call is 877-767-4760. We have 2 free tickets to see Britt Floyd and Alan Parsons. All you need to do is call 877-767-4760. On the other side, into a Game 1 win for the Padres. We'll see if they can overcome a deficit in Game 2. Plus Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs at 5:30. This is John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres Phillies, game 2 of their doubleheader. We are in the top of the 7th inning. Padres trail the Phillies 4-1. Padres won game 1 this morning, 6-4. They have an off day tomorrow before they start a 10-game homestand to wrap up the first half of their season before the All-Star break. Speaking of the All-Stars game, Manny Machado was voted in today as the starter at third base for the National League over Max Muncy. Tonight, 6 p.m., SDFC Midweek Live, 1 full hour of SDFC talk with Darren and Adrian Garcia Marquez. Of course, you're going to listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. NBA news of the day. The Knicks finally have a head coach. They hired Mike Brown, and the Lakers, they signed DeAndre Ayton. How many times have we all said that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back. It's got everyone saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos, plus quality products delivered next day to over 98% of the U.S. staples. That was easy.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's John and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of John and Jim. If you missed our conversation with Dan Zimborski of Fangraphs, you'll hear that coming up at 5:30. We continue to react to a Game 1 doubleheader win by the Padres, but Jim just told you they are trailing right now in Game 2 in the 7th inning. What is the difference, Jim, between winning and losing? The difference would be one game. If they win, they go 3-3 on the road trip. If they lose, they go 2-4. Did you realize that was the difference between winning and losing?
I thought the difference between winning and losing would be if you score more runs than the other team, they win.
Yeah. Or
you win if you're the Padres. And if you don't score more runs than them, then you lose.
I like how you put it that way, because that also is true. So that's what's on the line.
Yeah. If you score more runs than the Phillies today, you win the game. The Phillies score more runs than you, the Padres lose the game.
Simple as that.
It's very simple.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that does check out.
It does check out.
So in Game 1, it was the Padres.
They scored more runs than the Phillies.
And they won that game.
Yes. Right now they're scoring
less runs
than the Phillies, and they're losing.
What are the takeaways from the road trip? I'll start.
Okay. Because are you chalking this up to a loss?
No, not yet. To this point.
That's an awful call, by the way.
Yeah. They're down 4-1 heading to the bottom of the 7th inning. The game isn't over, but they've work to do. Here are my takeaways. Same conversation I had 5 days ago about the offense remains.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I'm more dug in on the offense. But you might say, John, they scored 6 runs in Game 1. Okay. They also got no hit through 8 innings by Nick Martinez. They also got shut out 2 days ago. So yeah, I'll give them credit for the 6-run game, but then we also have to discredit it when they got no hit through 8 innings. Or today, they're facing a very good starting pitcher. How many times are we going to say that? I need to hear Mike Schill postgame tell me that Sanchez is really good. I know he's good.
So is Zach Wheeler.
I mean, there's a lot of good. What are we going to do?
He's a good pitcher, John. So you have to tip your cap to a good pitcher.
What are we going to say for the next 75 games? Aren't they going to face good pitchers over the next 75 games?
At some point, this team is going to have to beat good teams consistently.
And good pitching.
You're right. They can't just bank on, well, we'll beat up on the bad teams, and if we lose series to the good teams, we'll still be fine. Like, no, you won't.
It doesn't really add up.
Because they are a team that is, to me, teetering. They're just, 2 wins here, 2 losses here, 1 win here, 2 losses here, 3 wins here, 4 losses here. Like, they're just going back and forth, back and forth. They are as average as you get when you look at the last 2.5 months. They're just an average baseball team. And if you break down the numbers, if you want to define them as a below average team, I'm not going to stop you or argue with you. I'm really not. They're not a bad team. They're not a good team. They're just
a team,
a baseball team.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just kind of average with moments sprinkled in where they look good, and then moments sprinkled in where they look awful.
The thing I still can't get fully past in my trustworthiness of them heading into the second half of the year is that they're 23rd in on-base plus slugging, and they're 24th in slugging only.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
Like, that part of it is like, you could tell me that Michael King's coming back, or You could tell me they're going to make a trade deadline addition, or you could tell me that Darvish is coming. You could tell me whatever you want to tell me, but I would tell you that offensively, they haven't taken a step back, Jim, from last year. They've taken two. I mean, they've really fallen quickly from where they were at times in 2024. Now, it was the second half that propelled them last year. And yesterday I said, well, you can't just bank on that happening again because it happened last year. But I mean, really, can the 23rd best offense become a top 12 offense in the second half of the year? I hope, but I don't know. The eye test tells me it might be hard for them to do that.
So after today, we're chalking this up to a loss.
I'm not willing to do it yet. What do you want to do? You want to do it?
It'll be 46-40. 6 games above 500.
Right where they were.
Right. All right. 10-game homestand. I'm going to bank on that they're going to play better at home because their record at home this year, John, is really good.
Yeah, you're right.
They're 25-14 at home.
Okay, I'm with you then. I'm with you.
They're 21-25 on the road. Soon to be 21-26 if they don't turn it around here.
Yep.
Against good teams, they're 19-32. Teams above 500. They play the Rangers, the D-backs, and the Phillies on this homestand. Is it too much to ask to go 6-4? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
So 6-4 to end your first half of the season. You're 8 games above 500 at the break. Now, if you ask me at the start of their season when they were 14-3, if I was like, hey, or when they're 12 games over 500, I'm like, hey, by the way, at the All-Star break, they're going to be 8 games above 500.
You'd be like, what happened?
Yeah. But with how this team's played last 2 months, to be 8 games above 500 at the All-Star break, I think is a pretty decent spot, all things considered.
I agree. You said it perfectly. It's like you can get mad, but then you need to take the step back and be like, well, they're positioned pretty well. So what are you really getting mad at?
Now, don't get me wrong. They got problems and they got issues they need to figure out. And if those issues do not get figured out, then this team will gravitate closer and closer to 500, and it could end up being a disaster. I'm not doubting that at all. But what I am saying is before all that potentially happens, which we don't even know if it will or not, they have a chance to go into the All-Star break 8, 9, 10 games above 500. Actually, no.
Yeah, they would have a chance.
A chance.
I mean, you said 6-4, which isn't asking for the world. There's definitely a world where they go 7-3. I mean, it's not crazy.
You know how much different people would think about this team if they went 7-3 on this 10-game homestand?
Because then they would actually be 10 games over 500. That seems like a pretty big number when you're 10 over 500.
And what this homestand will do is it will take the pressure off of having to start fast in the second half on that 10-game road trip. If you have a bad homestand here, if you go 4-6 on this homestand or worse, God forbid, now it's like, all right, deja vu all over again.
Got to go do it.
Got to flip the switch. Got to have one of the best second halves in franchise history.
It goes back to, I mean, I'll still say it. I'll keep saying it. I don't think you fully agree, but when you talk it out like that, you may agree. Is that, dude, if they get back to 500, and they're a long way from there. Even with the loss today, they're 6 over. But if they actually got back to 500, like you just said, they could go 3-7. They'd still actually be 2 over. Then let's say they come out of the break, they go loss. Now they're 500.
Same spot they were last year.
What would you say that day? Now, we'd always say, well, last year, I would be like, they're cooked.
I would not say they're cooked. I would say it feels like they're cooked. But talk to me after the road trip.
Yeah, I got you.
And if after the road trip, they are still 500 or they're a game or 2 below 500,
you'd write them off.
Then I'm leaning towards the this ain't it team.
Yeah, that's fair. 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in. Marcos does, and he's back on with John and Jim. Marcos, thanks for calling in.
What's up, guys? I got a quick addiction to you guys in the last few days, man, and I'm just so pumped up. I'm just watching the second game right now, and like I know we were saying that we're similar to where we were at last year. I mean, Jackson's right where he needs to be, and I talked about that yesterday. But are we Minnesota? Miss Profar? Like, what's different this year, guys, than last year with our skill?
Marcos, appreciate you. Thanks for listening in.
He broke up a little bit, but I think I know what he was talking about.
I think that, we could talk Profar and Higashioka. The truth is Gavin Sheets has come out of nowhere. But the catching thing has really let them down.
Mhm.
Left field DH has really let them down.
Well, Tatis is healthy.
And but also Tatis has let them down. The lineup last year was more well connected. I don't even know what to say. Like to Marcus's point, it doesn't necessarily make sense that they would go from a top 10 offense, Jim, to the 24th best offense because they don't have Jerks and Profar. But they have gone from the 10th best offense to the 24th best offense, and they're nowhere near as well connected as they were a year ago. And there's so many fewer 4 and 5 run innings. I know they had one today, but there have been so many fewer 4 and 5 run innings.
They don't string together those big innings like they did last year. To me, the biggest difference, because if you look at last year's first half and then this year's first half, Jerks and Profar carried the team last year.
Yeah, in the first half.
Manny Machado was not good in the first half. Jackson Merrill, told you the numbers yesterday.
Right.
They were worse than they are right now this time last year in the first half. So it wasn't like Jackson Merrill, who, almost hit 300 last year with 24 home runs. He didn't do that all year.
True.
He shot off like a rocket in August and September, mainly in, end of July and into August. August was incredible for him. To me, the biggest difference is what Manny Machado has done and what he's done this year compared to last year. It's night and day from the first half of last year to the first half of this year. First half last year, John, he was hitting 267 with a 740 OPS. Post All-Star break, he had an 876 OPS. That was last year. This year, we know what he's doing. He's an all-star. All right. This year, he's hitting 290 with an 825 OPS. So he's better now than he was last year at this time.
Right.
And if they finish off the first half, how I said, which is not some crazy ask, they will be better record-wise than they were last season. And it gives you wiggle room to not have to go 46 and 19 in the second half to get 90 plus wins. That's why this 10-game homestand, man, it is so important to me. Because do you want to make sure you're not in the same position you were last year, or are you going to put yourself in the same position you were last year because you don't play well here and have to play some crazy brand of baseball that it's really hard to replicate?
Let me simplify this though. Because Marcos calls in, he's like, "What's different?" Just hear me out. They're playing a third game in Philadelphia. Bandbox, warm, summertime. Now facing good pitching. Arguably. I mean, 2 of the 3 pitchers, right?
Yeah.
You know how many extra base hits they have in this 3-game series?
Hold on, let me think. 2.
Yeah. You know how many home runs they've hit this series?
That would be a goose egg, John. 0.
And maybe they will in the final 2 innings of this game, because they could use 1 or 2. You can't go to Philadelphia for a 3-game series and hit 0 home runs. I don't care who you're facing. That is completely unacceptable. Look at how, I get it, teams are built for ballparks, and maybe the Padres are built for Petco, but the Phillies aren't playing series at Citizens Bank Park, not homering. I mean, they hit home runs every single game they play, by and large. Like, it's hard to consistently win when the way to score is walk, single, single. Like, you need 3 things to happen in an inning, where Philadelphia is Kyle Schwarber. And he's hit 27 home runs. So, like, it's just a different way to play. It's not to say you can't win this way. I think last year they won that way, the walk, single, single. They're just not doing it at the same pace. And like, I'm telling you, if you go an entire series in Philadelphia with 2 extra base hits, like, that's just not good enough. All right, Dan Zimborski at 5:30. We continue to react. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Dan Zimborski at 5:30 from Fangraphs. iHeartRadio Music Festival back. Live performances by Bryan Adams, Ed Sheeran, and more, September 19th and 20th. T-Mobile in Vegas, 2 nights, 1 stage. Buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out.
So is this game over now, John?
The game's over.
Okay,
5-1.
Just wanted to check with
in
you.
the 7th. It wasn't over at 4-1. You know, you just get a feeling sometimes. I mean, I had a feeling at 4-1, but I didn't want to completely write it off.
Yeah.
Are you willing to completely write it off at 5-1?
Oh, I'm writing this thing off.
You wrote it. Like,
Yeah.
start the bus.
Yeah, they put Nunez in the game. That's like the white flag. We need to get some guys some work.
Well, no, it's his major league debut.
I know, and good for him. I'm glad he's out there, but it's not going that great.
Did you see the story? We all know Red Panda.
Dude.
How about Red Panda broke her wrist, like this iconic halftime act.
She fell on her
performance.
unicycle
She
during the
fell.
halftime
She
show.
fell. Now she has the broken wrist. She's out of the hospital. I think it's only thankfully supposed to be a few weeks, but Red Panda, an iconic performer, was in the hospital.
When I read the headline, I thought it was an actual red panda that got injured. I was like, why would they have a red
On
panda
ESPN.com.
at halftime?
Right. But that's like if you've gone to NBA games, if you've gone to college basketball, I think Red Panda's performed at San Diego State at VA House.
I've never seen Red Panda
live.
Nope.
Oh, you need to get out more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't. I'm seriously like she's probably performed how many thousands of times?
You know who loves Red Panda, and I'm actually want to see if this person's okay.
This person's okay?
Yeah, our buddy John Fanta. No one
my
loves Red
gosh.
Panda more than John Fanta.
They like work in tandem at MSG during the Big East tournament. He's definitely been tweeting about it, right?
Speaking of, I did see a tweet. Hold on. John Fanta.
From Fanta?
From Fanta.
Okay. What did he say?
Praying for my friend, the best
Wow.
halftime performer there has ever been. We are all here for you, Red. 3 praying hand emojis.
Dude, there's no one like. By the way, remember we were like, "Hey, has Fanta written us off?" Because I texted Fanta the day before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was working for NBA TV, and I said, "Hey, will you come out?" It was the day before the draft. I'm like, "Hey, we'd love to have you." Just general, like, "Hey, NBA finals are over. Nobody knows the draft better than you because you're college basketball." No response, but he said, "So sorry, things got crazy. Loves the new look Pac-12." This is what he said 5 days later. So sorry, John. Things got crazy. Love the new look Pac-12. I said, yeah, I can't wait for San Diego State Gonzaga.
And then you send him a long paragraph and then nothing back.
Well, I said, no worries, John. Definitely excited about the new Pac and SDSU Gonzaga rivalry moving forward. I'll reach out again at some point in the summer.
But you wanted to have a text conversation about the Pac-12, didn't you? I know you.
I don't.
You wanted to just sit there and have
be
like a 20-minute text conversation with him about the new Pac-12.
Dude, there is no one busier in our industry, and it's not even cliche. He is among the busier people in the industry.
He's doing like professional bowling events.
In addition to that, though, he does the draft and then he'll be at Summer League.
I know.
He'll do the college basketball, he'll do the NBA, he'll do the Summer League, he'll do the draft, he'll do bowling.
And I'm not going to say that this is the only reason why he blew up in fame.
Okay.
But PFT, Big Cat.
Oh, they love him, right?
They love John Fanta.
What was the thing?
And they got him on their podcast, and it just blew up.
What was the thing, man, in the last year where he freaked out at someone? Remember, it was on a what's it called on Twitter when it's all audio?
It was about the Creighton head coach or something.
He's like, don't tell me that Creighton can't consistently win.
Yeah, it was at a March Madness event, and it was
that was amazing.
It was before March Madness, and he freaked out on somebody.
It was a Field of 68 podcast.
It was at Villanova, the Villanova head coach.
He freaked out about it, dude. I know.
It was so good.
But there's other examples where he freaked out at someone on the Guardians because he's a big Guardians fan or a Browns fan.
I know he's on Cleveland radio consistently, and he's had rants where it's gone viral.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He's the best.
Anyway, I don't know how we got. Oh, Red Panda.
Red Panda.
I was sad to see that.
Get well soon, Red Panda.
Get well soon. And speaking of get well soon, this Padres offense trailing 5-1 here tonight. Now this game isn't over.
Get well soon, Padres offense. It might be a while though.
I mean, so you're not really feeling late inning comeback tonight?
No.
You have no faith in a late inning comeback?
I have zero faith in a late inning comeback.
I didn't feel good when they had the 6-0 lead in game one and they went to Adrian Morejon for 4 outs and Robert Suarez. I'm like, I was hoping they could get to game two.
Well, this game has not been about the bullpen.
No, well, it hasn't. I mean, they're trailing 5-1, but I just didn't have a good feeling when they had to use their bullpen because I'm like, well, now they can't use their 18 bullpen in game two if they have a lead.
And that's because you don't have much faith in Dylan Cease, right?
That too. Yeah, that too. But yeah, Cease, what was the final line on Dylan Cease today? I mean, I think he allowed what,
5 innings, 4 runs or something like that.
I don't know what it was.
A very typical 2025 outing for Dylan Cease. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Do you have it? Because I'll pull it up if you don't.
6 innings, 4 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 8 hits allowed, 2 home runs.
4.62 ERA.
Not good.
4.62 ERA.
You're closer to a 5 ERA than you're closer to a 3 ERA.
Actually, then a 4.
And then a 4. Well, yeah.
Is right. Closer to a 5 than a 4 at 4.62. So yeah, he continues to be that work in progress, and Padres will have tomorrow off, and then they hope to get right during this homestand coming up, beginning with the Texas Rangers on Friday. Not to write off this game completely because they're still playing.
Oh, I've written it off.
But we're writing off this game completely. All right, Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs on the state of the Padres on the other side. Dan Szymborski back with us on John and Jim. Stay with us right now. This is San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. Padres Phillies game 2 of the doubleheader. Phillies lead the Padres 5-1 in the top of the 8th inning. Padres, though, are threatening with 2 on and 1 out. NBA news of the day: Mike Brown is the new head coach for the New York Knicks. DeAndre Ayton signed with the Los Angeles Lakers today, and tonight at 6 p.m. SDFC Midweek Live, 1 full hour of SDFC talk right here on San Diego Sports 760. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell has the buyers. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, Jim's back page coming up in 15 minutes. If you missed it earlier, a really good guest when it comes to the analytics of baseball. Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs, who covered all topics related to the Padres, including their needs. The trade deadline is 28 days away. What does he see as the Padres' needs?
Well, I think what's interesting about the Padres is they're probably about where we saw them about, on average coming into the season. Ups and downs have kind of melded into this kind of middling. They're on pace for, I believe, 89 wins, which is not an unusual expectation. I think they still need offense from a few offense primary positions. They've gotten very little out of left field combined. They've gotten absolutely nothing total out of DH. Their DH spot is like a 530 OPS, which is absurdly low. They could use a bat. The question is, will the money work out? Will the trades work out? That's a to be determined.
Fernando Tatis Jr. has been in a slump for the last 2 months here. The projections on him after his first 3 seasons, I'm sure, were like MVP / almost Hall of Fame level of production. But the last 3 years, he's taken a massive dip for his standards that started out his career. How are the projections for Tatis going forward, and what kind of player could you realistically expect to see here?
Well, he still generally had strong projections, and it looked like for the first couple of months that he was kind of back. He was hitting at the same level as 2019 to 2021. I think people sometimes forget how young he was then. I mean, he's not an old player now. He's 26, so there's a lot of baseball left in him. I think he's a bit better than this, but every year he doesn't fully get back to that level, the less likely it becomes. But where he is, a guy who puts up a 340, 350 on base percentage, slugs 500, plays a really good defensive corner outfield. That's still a valuable player. It's just not what they hoped for. And that upside still remains, but it's not certain at this point.
Good insight. Dan Szymborski, Fangraphs, back with us right now on John and Jim. Manny Machado has put together another really quality season. I mean, seemingly he does it each and every year. How long should Padres fans expect this level of production? I think he's turning 33 on Sunday, but he's been one of the most consistent hitters in the game for years at this point.
Yeah, it looked a few years ago like he was starting that slow decline, but he's come back. And as importantly as his bat is, his glove has generally come back also. There were a few years in his early Padres stint where his defensive numbers weren't quite as good. But now you look at them, he's like, he can still play third base for a long time, because that's kind of where he runs into the problems. If he ages out of the position, does he hit well enough to play first base in 3 or 4 years? He is, you look where he is now. I mean, he's going to clear 2,000 hits in the next week or so, I guess. He's putting together a Hall of Fame resume. He's not far from having my vote. I think probably if he was hit by a bus, I'd vote for him today. But I think that he's the last problem the Padres have. And if he became a problem, then everything's already gone to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Exactly. The bullpen for the Padres has been used a lot this year. Today, Robert Suarez once again shaky in the 9th inning. When you look at all of the back end relievers for the Padres, and Robert Suarez is, for his standards or for what he has done in his career, this is kind of a shaky year for him so far. He's got an ERA over 4. He does have 23 saves, but guys like Adrian Morejon and Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada, do you think that there should be a discussion about maybe changing up the closer position, or would you still, say that Robert Suarez, his numbers pan out to where, he's fine as a closer spot? He's just going through a rough patch right now.
I think he's fine. I think what the Padres need to look at is, especially as he gets closer to the deadline, I mean, it's only 4 weeks away now, is to add to that depth in the back of that bullpen. Because if you have more arms at the back of the bullpen that you can count on these medium leverage innings, you kind of give the high leverage guys a break. You look at Suarez, he's on pace for the most innings he's thrown in his career in the majors. You look at, they've been really reliant on their first four relievers, as you mentioned, Suarez, Adam Estrada, and Morejon. So anything to take off that load, I think kind of has a domino effect where it makes them better. But I think you have to add that depth because you get to the postseason, the bullpen still isn't. You don't want them dead at that point, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And you're
having death going on here, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at, I think Jason Adam might lead baseball right now in appearances. It's a fair point because you're going to need them to be fresh if they get into October. Dan Zaborski from Fangraphs with us right now on John and Jim. What about starting pitching? I mean, I feel like we're covering all the areas where they might need to upgrade, but I say it because Michael King is out right now due to injury. Who really knows about his return? Yu Darvish has missed the entire year to this point. It sounds as if he's getting closer to returning. Do the Padres need to add at least some depth in the rotation over the next 4 weeks?
I think the big problem with the pitching addition is there doesn't seem to be anyone who's on the level of, the last few years, all the talk about Skubal when the Tigers were kind of thinking about trading him maybe with Garrett Crochet. I don't think you have any guys on that level, but there are some arms out there. I think the Orioles are going to kind of throw in the towel the next few weeks. They're going to trade Zach Eflin. And I think the Padres do need to get that extra arm because you look at the Dodgers as kind of a cautionary tale. They've survived a lot of pitching injuries, but they've had a lot of pitchers on that roster to survive that. And the problem is if you get to October and you have two starters who are healthy, you're going to have to ride that bullpen. And that bullpen's already pretty tired now. So they need to add innings wherever they can, I think, at this point. Not necessarily pick up a superstar that may not be available, but just get some guys who can eat some innings and just not have to backfire on the way back.
The thing with, rookies that have fantastic years is they're always the question of sophomore slumps. And we went through the numbers yesterday, Dan, with Jackson Merrill at this exact time last year compared to this exact time right now. And while Jackson Merrill, he hasn't put up a bunch of power recently, he hasn't hit a home run in over a month. His average is still very good. His OPS is still very good. The projections for him, started the season, we thought this guy could hit 30 home runs. But he's missed some time for injury. For the rest of this year and going forward, how would you project Jackson Merrill out? And you don't consider this anywhere close to like a quote-unquote sophomore slump with him, right?
Not really. One of the things about sophomore slumps is when you look at guys who have the best season, there's always going to be kind of a step back, just like with any player who has a great season. They're going to have regression toward the mean. Generally speaking, the guys who are the best rookies had a better than average season for them because the guys who had a worse than average season are probably still in the minors. So a step back was always a possibility. Like when you come into the season, the Zips projections had him at a 781 OPS. The Steamer projections had him at an 804 OPS. And he's at 786 this year. So this isn't actually that far different from what the projections said. It was a reasonable drop-off. And I think that if you look at his drop-off compared to, say, that of Jackson Chourio, I think the Padres had to be happy with him. I think he's doing what he should. Going into the expectation that he was going to be like a 5 or 6 WAR player every year, that's kind of a little asking a lot of really of anybody except for a handful of players in baseball. But the point is that he's still one of the best center fielders in baseball. As long as he's on the field, I think, like with Machado, if he's a problem, then everything's just broken.
Dan Zaborski, Fangraphs with us right now on John and Jim. Xander Bogaerts has had a better month. It's been a really tough 3 years, as you know, in San Diego, but he has put together better at-bats, plate appearances here recently. How does where he is compare to the projections? He's just over a 700 OPS right now. I think it's 703. What can we expect for the remainder of the year from Xander?
Well, the big part of the disappointment is that his batting average has dropped in recent years. When he's not a guy who has he's not going to hit 40 home runs. He's not going to walk 100 times. So it's a pretty big deal when he's hitting 260 instead of 300. You look at his profile and batting average is not likely to go up at this point. I think that the best case for the Padres is that he just maintains where he is, because he's not a problem. And obviously you rather get more performance for the money. But I think this is probably who he is at this point.
What do you expect Dylan Cease's market to be? Free agent coming up, down year for him for sure. Do you think that his market will be impacted at all by this season that he's had so far?
I don't think so, because one, there's no massive injury concern. It's not like he's gonna had a dreaded flexor strain that makes everyone suspicious of Tommy John surgery. You look at his ERA and it's high, but you look at his peripheral numbers, his FIP, his Statcast derived data. It's all pretty good, and teams do look at those things. I mean, his strikeout rate is actually better than it was last year. The big problem is his batting average on balls in play is 330, but that tends to be a really volatile number for pitchers. That tends to come down. Defense is a huge part of that for any pitcher. So I think he's going to have a pretty vigorous market this offseason. If the Padres are hoping to retain him at a discount, I think they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think most Padres fans feel that same way. What about Michael King, who's missed a lot of time here? Assuming he returns and looks like Michael King, the market remains extremely high on King as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that mutual option, which I don't know is going to be a thing, but I think for him, it's going to depend on what that shoulder looks like, because everyone's going to be afraid of a pitcher coming off a shoulder injury going into a spring training, depending on how long it lingers, if there are any negative effects when he comes back velocity-wise. It would be nice for the Padres, and I don't know if they can, based on their financial situation, which has kind of had some extra annoyances that most teams don't have to face. But it would be nice to have one of those guys signed before the offseason to extension, because when you have two of the top pitchers in free agency departing, you're probably going to lose at least one of them. And that's a pretty big loss. And I don't think the Padres can absorb that from within very easily.
A significant loss. Of course, Joe Musgrove would be coming off Tommy John, and Yu Darvish is about 40 years of age, under contract as well. Dan, we appreciate you taking time for us as always here in San Diego. We'll do it again, hopefully at some point soon. And thanks for joining.
Always fun, guys.
All right, Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs. We're keeping our eye on Padres and Phillies, Jim, in Philadelphia.
Oh, we are, huh?
I've been keeping my eye on it.
This game is over.
This thing might be over. 5-1 Phillies, bottom 8. Phillies threatening for more.
Yeah, it's over.
I'm live, Brent. That's hilarious. Oy vey. All right, Jim's back page is on the other side. Oh, we have SDFC Midweek Live coming up in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've been saying that all day long.
Darren Smith is in the building now.
He is in the house.
All right, so SDFC Midweek Live coming up at 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. This is John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. SDFC Midweek Live coming up. 15 minutes. Darren Smith is in the building. The good news is SDFC. The bad news is the Padres in game 2 are trailing.
Well, at least we have a one winner in this town.
No, Padres
I know. They
Padres
are a team that's above 500. They're technically a winning team this year.
Technically, in a loss, they'd be 6 games over 500.
Correct. I know.
But we'll have now. Is Adrian Garcia Marquez going to be here?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm.
It's a show.
I feel like they're both busy guys. Darren's busy. Adrian's busy.
Yeah, but this is like also like their job.
That's true. I'm busy, but I have to be here every day.
Yeah, I'm busy too.
Are you?
Not really. Not at all.
Don't try to pull a fast
I need to be here.
Yeah. All right. So that's coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes. SDFC first place in the Western Conference. Much more on that for 1 full hour coming up at 6 p.m. But right now, let's get to this.
So recently, John, the top 100 ice cream.
What?
I don't know what I just said. The top 100 ice cream shops in America, according to Yelp, was released.
You may say the word ice weird. Can you say it again? Can you say
ice cream?
Yeah. Okay. Top 100. We know that number 1 was the San Diego.
Yes.
Shop.
Yeah. Ann's Dry Cleaning.
Ann's Dry Cleaning.
The other ice cream shops on the list that made the top 100
that are local.
Mm-hmm. Number 12 in the country, Pacific Beach Ice Cream.
Oh, wow.
Number 13, Boboy Natural Gelato.
We have 3 of the top 13.
Yep.
It's a big number.
And then number 17, we have 1022 Cafe and Gelatorita.
4 of the top 17.
Yeah.
We're like the SEC of ice cream joints.
Correct.
We have like all the top teams.
Well, when it's 75 degrees year round.
I was thinking that too.
You always have to have ice cream.
So we got number 1 and we have 4 of the top 17.
Yeah. Pretty good.
We should be getting a good ice cream deal.
We really should be. Comic-Con, John, is coming up quickly.
I heard about that. When is it?
It's next weekend.
Okay.
No.
Because we have Padres.
2 weekends from now.
Yeah.
2 weekends from now.
Okay.
And I mean, once you've been to one Comic-Con, you've been to a bunch of Comic-Cons.
Well, you guys have both been to a couple, right?
I've been to multiple, and there's really not much that changes from Comic-Con to Comic-Con.
So are
Pretty
you
much
kind
just
of
the memorabilia you see?
Are you kind of, if you were given tickets and you could go, are you kind of over it? Because you've experienced it.
Over it.
No, I'll still go.
Okay.
I would go, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just a lot.
It's a lot. The whole experience, you're saying? There's
Yeah.
so much going on. So many people.
The first Comic-Con I went to was like awesome just because.
Was it?
Yeah, it's just like your first Comic-Con and you're like, this is great. And we stayed in line for a Game of Thrones exhibit. And that was when Game of Thrones was at its peak. Like it was after the second to last season. So I think it was season 6.
Gotcha.
Heading into the final season. And the hype for Game of Thrones back then was just through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And we waited like 6 hours to get into an exhibit.
Didn't you go last year with Brent, or was it 2 years ago?
No, me and Brent went a couple years ago.
Yeah. So you're not going this year?
No, I'm not going this year.
Okay.
I'm not going inside.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'll go outside.
Be downtown.
Do the free stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha.
One of the cool things about Comic-Con, though, is the restaurants downtown transform into comic-themed type of restaurants.
Remember that Sonic thing that we tried to get John to go to and he just didn't go?
Yeah, that's
Did
your
I bail?
fault. Oh, you bailed. You bailed hard.
Okay.
3 establishments in the Gaslamp Quarter, John, will be serving up some limited edition cocktails and hosting theme parties during Comic-Con, which last from Thursday, July 24th through the 28th. Fans of the hit franchise Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles can sip on a Cowabunga cooler at the Lionfish Modern Coastal Cuisine. It's a gin-based cocktail. The Lionfish will also introduce a what is this? Regeneration refresher inspired by the BBC science fiction series Doctor Who. And also other drinks include the Joker's Jive. It's an espresso martini and the 11 Elixir, which is based off of the show Stranger Things.
Is there a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Doesn't have to be a new one.
But is there?
No.
Okay.
They're re-releasing the original movie in theaters because it's like the 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
So
That's why I
they're
asked
doing it.
because of the promo.
The Oxford Social Club will have a Industry Heroes versus Villains theme party on Thursday, July 24th, with music played by Ryan DJ Scooter Willard. Additional parties with guest DJs will be held Friday, July 25th and the 26th. And a rooftop party will close out Comic-Con weekend at the Pool House, which offers fans a place to unwind by taking in the city's views and lounge atmosphere. That will be taking place on Sunday, July 27th. All three venues, Lionfish, Oxford Social Club, and the Pool House, they're located down inside the Pendry district in San Diego.
Has Aaron ever been?
Oh, the Pendry, sorry, the
Pendry,
hotel.
yeah. Has Aaron ever been to Comic-Con?
Yeah, we went.
Yeah.
That was the year
that 1 year.
we went 1 year with Aaron. That was the first year that we were dating, I believe.
And she was like,
we
good.
were engaged, right? I think we were engaged. So I already locked her up.
Right, before you took her there. Good call. Good call.
I locked her up. We're all good. So.
Good call.
Yeah. And finally, McDonald's is going to bring back one of their fan favorites, the blueberries and cream pie. McDonald's has quietly brought back one of its most beloved limited time desserts, the blueberry and cream pie, much to delight of fans across the U.S. The pie features McDonald's signature flaky crust filled with a luscious blend of sweet blueberry fillings and a smooth vanilla flavored cream. Originally last seen in early 2023, the blueberry cream pie has made a surprise return in select locations nationwide. It's expected to make a return to all stores nationwide later this year.
Padres lose 5-1. Here's our 1 minute wrap-up show. We're reacting to a Padres 5-1 loss for 60 seconds. We'll have a full wrap-up show tonight at 9:30. What's your takeaway? 5-1. They just played for our entire show.
My takeaway, Dylan Cease, still wildly inconsistent. This team, wildly inconsistent. They can't string back-to-back games together offensively. That is, they look good one game, they look bad the next game, and they are just a 500 team that's living off of their start of the season.
Yeah, my takeaway is this offense. I was concerned 6 games ago. I'm more concerned today, probably. You just went to Philadelphia, had 2 doubles. No homers, no anything. You went to Philadelphia, you had 2 doubles. And in how many of these 6 games, Jim, was the offense just inept? No hit for 8 innings, shutout 2 days ago, 1 run today. How many of the games were they inept on? Shoot, the Cincinnati 3-2 loss. They were 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. In all 4 of their losses, their offense could not have looked worse.
So they had 2 extra base hits in the entire series?
Unless they had one in the 8th or 9th inning that I missed, because I looked earlier. They had a double on Monday, and they had a double in game 1.
So 2 extra base hits. Is that good?
Today they had, in game 2, 0.
And in game 1, they had
1. They had, and it was the Machado big hit. Thank the Lord that happened if you're a Padres fan, right?
They would have lost that game if not for that hit.
Did happen.
And all those walks.
So that's my takeaway. I mean, again, did I expect more than a split today? If I'm being honest, of course not. You're not expecting. You're not expecting a road sweep of a doubleheader. And I'm certainly not expecting it.
I'm kind of expecting it.
So they're coming home. They're off tomorrow. They'll play the Rangers on Friday, and the first half, quote unquote, ends after this 10-game homestand.
That's wild.
2 doubles.
2 extra base hits in 3 games in Philadelphia. Like how?
But not even
Why?
extra base hits. I mean, yes, extra base hits, but no home runs. Like it almost sounds better. Oh, they had 2 extra base hits. Like maybe one of them was a homer. No. Maybe one of them was a triple. No. They had 2 doubles.
That's it as a team.
They had Machado in game 1. I don't even remember the double on Monday.
Was it Xander?
Must have been.
Let's look this up here.
Oh, well, it wasn't Machado. Remember, he ripped the ball off the wall and was held to a single. I think it was Bogarts doubled off the top of the wall.
It was Xander.
He doubled off the top of the wall. So there's your 2-minute post-game reaction on John and Jim, as they just played for the last 3 hours, but we'll have 1 hour of reaction coming up at 9:30 on YouTube. So 2-4 road trip. 2-4. I mean, we were hoping for 3-3 when it started, and they end up going 2-4 through Cincinnati and Philadelphia. The good news is some of these teams have not played well in the National League. The Giants, the Cardinals recently, last handful of days, have not played well All right, SDFC Midweek Live. We can look forward to that. Adrian Garcia, Marquez, Darren Smith, they've got you covered. What a year it's been for SDFC. You get 1 full hour of that coming up in about 4 minutes. If you missed anything today, go to sportssd.com. All right, for Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here. This is San Diego Sports 760. SDFC Midweek Live is next. Okay, bye-bye.